Good morning. Today is Wednesday, July 6, 2022. The time is now 9 a.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chairman of the Custer County Board of Commissioners, and I will call this meeting of the board to order. If you have your cell phones with you, please silence them at this time. And if you would please join me for the pledge. What would you lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. I'll get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Day,
Present.
Commissioner Kanda,
Here.
Commissioner Flower,
Present.
Attorney Clint Smith,
Present.
and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
And we'll do audience introductions and we'll start right over.
Bob McDonald, Airport.
Bob Jolly, Airport.
David Loretta.
Dorothy Carson.
Okay. And if we do have a few people online. Also, if anybody goes to speak later, if you would please identify yourself so that we have that on the record. And do we have any amendments to the agenda?
None here.
I do not. None here either. Okay. No minutes to approve today. Commissioner Flower.
I don't really have anything since yesterday. I am drafting a letter on our behalf to send out to the new board members for Custer County Recycles. Wait to make sure we get the right names from the town of Westcliff and town of Silvercliff. And I would assume, Clint, maybe you can give us some idea there about how we officially seat a board. Do we do that via a resolution, or can we just make a motion to do that? Or do you guys have a feeling about that one way or the other?
I think we just set it up.
You know, they'll draft a set of bylaws and bring back to us at some point, and we'll have to
Approve the
approve
bylaws.
those. But as far as
And we can set up the
seating the
committee.
board, I don't know.
It might be better to do it by a
Resolution.
resolution where you determine how many members are gonna be on the board and things like that, and maybe at least appoint preliminary officers or something until they,
Meet and have their bylaws made up.
I think it might be better though to do it by a resolution.
I wonder if initially we just don't, maybe we can entertain a motion to establish the board of directors for Custer County Recycles and then move forward with that.
Yeah, I think you can do that and just kind of just get things off the ground
And
and,
then do a resolution.
just to determine how many are gonna be on the board and the terms and, you know, if they're staggered, if they all are 1 year at a time or however you want.
Yeah, that'll all be spelled out in the bylaws. Initially, they being the committee that's been functioning for the last 2 years, thought 5 would be a good working number, but they might do 5 to 7 or 5 to 9 or whatever. I don't know.
Well, maybe the easier way to do it then would be to have them, we could ask them to set up a temporary, you know, what their proposed structure is.
Right, and that's
Right
part of
now.
the letter that one of
Right,
their
and
responsibilities.
then they can bring them for a resolution. We could have that to consider. Here's the initial recommendation from the committee for the board. And have that on an agenda mid-month or whenever they're be ready.
Yeah, I wouldn't think they'd have their bylaws written anytime.
Or maybe a structure later.
It just to recognize for them to recognize that we have approved the establishment of that board, I guess would be the initial thing.
And I think that should be done by resolution.
Right.
So work on that as well, shoot you a draft.
Okay, so, okay.
It's good.
Because we don't want to cheat the attorney out of some revenue, so. he
No,
needs to be
no,
Part of it.
I got that clock running every time right, I probably just earned 150 just to answer your question just now.
150 pesos.
Other than that, sir, that's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Cannon.
I have a couple things, but we'll get into that in the airport board meeting, or when we have the reports in the airport, I'll mention them.
Okay. A couple things here. I see that I believe Carlin has, due to her responses, decided on Wednesday.
Yes.
So
Wednesday,
if you
4:30.
guys can make sure that's on your calendar.
Yeah.
For that. The other thing is I did attend the Florence Fire Department meeting last night. And Wetmore, had was going to give them part of those ARPA dollars that they had received.
Oh, didn't know that.
Their request was to help support EMS, West Cliff EMS and Florence Fire. Florence Fire voted to respectfully refuse those dollars last night. Even though Wetmore Fire is not the ones that are trying to get the ambulance service down there, they thought it might not be appropriate for them to be donating money to them. The timing is all wrong. So
maybe.
the
Worried
look could
about
be
some
there.
pending strings attached or got
So,
nervous or something.
Yes, nobody wanted anything to appear as though Wetmore was trying to buy ambulance service. So they have declined those monies. In speaking with the chief from Wetmore Fire, they do have some other needs that they could use those dollars for. Mainly, I guess, VHF radios, so that in an incident, they have communications with the federal agencies and air support. And some other items for trucks that they have just acquired. I told them I would bring that to you guys, as well as another option would be for them to roll that money into what they were going to donate to Custer County EMS. Or the third option, I suppose, would be for them to turn that part of the monies back in. So
That'd be a crime.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could use it for whatever they want, really.
So, well, their initial request was for
For
that purpose.
support,
So that's
yeah.
why they're not going to do anything
Okay.
unless they're.
What was
given
the dollar amount that they offered to Florence Fire?
6,000.
Who was the they again?
Wetmore
The
Fire.
fire, they were,
Wetmore Fire
Only.
is the one that put
I thought
in
you had
the
somebody.
request, and
Yeah.
that was the request.
Interesting.
So anyhow, that may be something for us to put on the agenda for mid-month or something like that, or I don't know if you guys would like to speak to it before that or not. But they didn't want to move forward without direction.
need to wait.
We really probably didn't, we haven't, to my recollection, and didn't communicate very well to any of those entities. What if plans change and then they can't use the money for what they applied for, then what? So, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So maybe we ought to give that some thought at some point.
I think it was written in there for them to return the money and we would decide how it would be
That's right.
allocated from there. But I could
If they couldn't use it for their stated purposes.
That's what the letter was.
Okay. And if it is written in there that way, then that would be what they would do. So,
I would hope they could be inventive on some ways that they could use that money and keep it and still honor their intent of their application.
Now, some of it, shoot, the guy can use it to get it economically recovered. He's got a job doing whatever it was, still put the money into it. Things go south and, falls through halfway through, you can't do anything about it.
yeah.
remember because I didn't sign the bottom of it.
That's probably true.
So it does
It's written in
address
there.
it to some degree.
Okay,
It doesn't say why they wouldn't expend their funds. It just says if you don't expend them.
okay. So I will reach back out to him today and let him know that. And that is all I have, gentlemen.
With bated breath to hear our attorney's been chomping at the bit.
Alrighty. And so it is your turn, Mr. Smith.
Well, the only thing I wanted to mention, and you have the proposed resolution to name those roads in the Kelling Colony Creek subdivision. And I prepared that resolution. There should be an exhibit A attached, which I have here. And I'm gonna give it to Dorothy because that needs to go with it. That identifies the roads. That was prepared by Chris Price and so Dorothy.
I believe I added that to theirs. I may not have.
Oh,
written
no.
it. It was-
All right, that's fine. If they've got it, that's fine.
We do have it in our
I
packet.
see it on the one that I have.
Oh, for the attachment, yeah.
Okay,
So those are the road names that will
those are the
be.
road names that they asked for and that JD approved and Chris Price and
I'll give that
Matt.
back.
Did a good job making it simpler than it looked before.
I did- Sorry, it couldn't be a longer resolution. I mean, because if I could squeeze it out, 8-10 pages, I'd be rich.
We expected that, but
Yeah.
Then you probably wouldn't have to sell your bike.
That's going on the block.
Okay, Dorothy, have you got anything for us this
I
morning?
don't, sir.
Okay, thank you. Brings us then to public comment. If there's anything that you would like to make comments on that is not on the agenda, feel free to do so at this time. I'm not seeing any hands raised there. Okay. Then we will see, do we have the airport here? We do. You guys are up.
Wants his other.
I could have
I'll
dumped
take the
that
hot
off
seat.
onto you. Good morning, sir. How are you?
How are you gentlemen today?
Good.
Feeling fine.
See you, Bob.
Okay. All right, so you want the good news or the bad news?
Oh,
We're out of fuel. All right, let's start out. Let's see, fuel sales for the month of June. We sold 1,956 gallons
Wow.
in the month of June. That left us with 944 gallons. And it brought in $9,764.97, which is good, but very unexpected. So for an example, from the first of the month to yesterday, we sold 629 gallons
5 days.
in 5 days, which is unprecedented. I mean, it's insane because typically we don't sell 600 in a month.
Yeah.
On a good month. The problem is it left us with 300 gallons approximately. Bob One and I shut the pump off yesterday to avoid contaminating, anything below 250, 300.
Get
We'll
water.
get a little bit of junk in the bottom. So for safety aspect, we're out of fuel. That's the bad news. So we do have some electrical contractors giving us some bids for the new tank. It's taking a minute for whatever reason, but everything's moving on the new tank. I guess the real question is, what do we do for fuel? We spoke with, the normal situation is we get a split load, but we can't get one until September. So the only option left on our table is to get a full tank, which is 8,000 gallons. The current price is $6.26, is that correct?
28, 27. It
27.
says 28 on your page.
Gotta round up all those decimals.
Okay.
So we'll call it 6:27. Long story short, what do? If we wait until September, that leaves the airport empty until for the rest of the summer. Not a good plan. So I guess that's the bad news.
We're gonna get into that in detail.
Okay.
On the agenda.
So,
item, but-
other
so we've
than
got
that-
these options.
Lots of activity at the airport, people flying in and buying fuel. So pretty quiet other than that.
Okay, I had one thing that Brian asked me to look into, and I did. And that's why I mentioned we bring it up here. And that's on the crack seal that Armstrong's got out for bid. And so the update there is they've got 2 bids in hand that they received out of 7 that were released. That were sent out on 6/24 is when they were sent out. 1 declined, 2 bids are there, and he's waiting for a 3rd one to come in. They will be there, so it'll be at least 3 bids of the 7. And they're running around 150 to 180K in that range, so that's within the criteria.
So waiting on one more.
Yeah, and we gotta get it started before long. And then I'm still waiting on the congressionally directed spending. You can look for to let us know where we stand so we can coordinate this with that ramp expansion. And no news on that expected at the end of July. We'll know a little more. That's what I told Brian.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to go back to the fuel thing. We're gonna get to it later, but can you talk a little about option 2? A partial load of 2,500 gallons. Or option 3 was wait and get a split load. I assumed the 2,500 gallons was a split load.
It's a
I'm looking
short
at the
load.
bottom of that.
Yeah, so typically in the past, because we had a smaller tank, we usually had a month or 2 to organize this, what they call a split load. So we'd share with, say, Pueblo,
Right.
and we'd take a half tank or 3,000 gallons, whatever. We tried to exercise that option, but because of the current issues in the world, everyone seems to keep their tank extremely full because they want to get the better pricing. So there is no split load available. And we talked to World Fuel, or Bob did, yesterday. They can't even find anyone in Colorado to split a load with us.
Right.
We talked to them about a partial load, which means they'll come out of Texas with, say, 3,000 gallons. They'd add a buck or 2 a
So
gallon
you just pay more.
to that.
Okay.
They can't even do that.
No, okay.
So,
So really.
Even if they
option
did it,
2 is
you
not
know,
an
yeah,
option, but
and if we did, it would be $9 a gallon by the time we tacked our
Right.
fee on, but the option's not even there. So really, option 2 is crossed out.
Okay.
And
All right, thank you.
so that leaves us with, buy a load or wait until September. That's not usually how it works, but that's how it is now, unfortunately.
Okay, any other news on hangars?
On what?
Hangars,
Hangers?
rental hangars, they're all good, we're done.
No. So anyway, it's just crazy how much fuel sold in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's unprecedented, you know?
Pretty amazing. Mike.
Yeah, it's.
Unfortunately, our consideration of fuel purchase is the last item on the agenda. Can you guys hang around or
I guess we'll have to wait around.
we can?
That was their
function? I
plan,
mean,
we talked to them.
It'd be nice for you to be here, but
Sure.
it's gonna be a little while.
Can I ask where all this traffic is coming from?
Mainly it's
Excuse me?
All this traffic, where's it coming from that is using up so much fuel? Texans flying in?
No, it's, most of the people, it turns out from the Springs.
Sorry.
Their price was $8 a gallon, or they're about 8 something. And we were at $4.95 or whatever.
99.
So everyone saw a
Oh,
pretty good discount.
Worth an hour flight of burning some
just
fuel
fill
to
it
get
up
it at
and
that
they
rate.
just- The word get out and they just said, hey, free fuel, empty the tank, so.
And we didn't take advantage of supply and demand and up that price?
Excuse me?
We didn't take advantage of supply and demand and up the price to match Colorado Springs? Here you're gonna have to spend a fortune to refill it, but yet you can sell it at a discount.
That just happened over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was pretty unexpected.
Aren't you out there every day?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. And we'll get into this when we discuss prices, but the idea for a full load would be in order you have to split it in a new tank with the old tank as well.
Yeah, we'd have to put
That's
5,000 or so in a new one. And, kind of split them up, which, no problem. But anyway, that's what we got.
Thank you, sir.
And your fly-in date?
Still on schedule.
I don't-
22nd, I believe, right?
That's why I was asking. I don't know that I got it written down.
22nd?
That's a Saturday, and you're talking about July or August.
August.
And 22nd's a Monday.
20.
Was it? Oh, 20th. Yeah, I
20th.
had it written down. I was looking. Good. Everything on schedule for that? Huh?
Yes, it is. Everything's looking good. We have all the equipment necessary. In fact, we had the tables shipped in yesterday,
Oh,
so we're good.
Okay, I have one comment to make based on the comment from the back here. Just so the public knows, we do maintain a watch on every airport around here and maintain a price that will, as you know, not only, are you a pilot?
I've taken pilot lessons.
But if you'll understand, a pilot, even crossing country, will go out of the way 100 miles, even if it makes sense price wise. And so some of the things that we're watching is we want to be competitive. We can't be competitive with Walsenburg because they're subsidized by this town a lot more. So we're in order to keep the traffic in here and get the right amount of price for it, we try to maintain about a 50 cent over what our price is margin of profit. And so we watch that as we go and change it as soon as we see it changing on a tank load of fuel, even though if we bought it for $2 a gallon, we're not going to sell it for $2 a gallon all the way out. So we're watching it all the time. And what he's saying today is it's everybody's sort of hoarding. It's like a grocery store. All of a sudden your shelves are empty and you didn't expect it, but it happened. In this case, that was a 2-week period. It wasn't that in June. It was nice. We had a nice month in June, but it wasn't a rush. So but it was unpredicted. And that was 5 days. So we had the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
And some other people were taking advantage of that to fly up and see the road, the parade and all that other kind of thing as well. So we do watch it. It's not, we are being cognizant, and we are on the fuel watch list. There are people that that are coming in, what's the silverwest.gov.com, whatever it is.
Well,
And they keep watching it.
yeah, and it's not just stuff, it's a collective decision how the bottom line is we bought it at X price, we margin, is an
And
X amount of
walk
margin,
as the market.
and we sell it for that. And now it's gone.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to make sure it's clear. We're not ignoring it.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I have.
That's all I got.
Thanks, sir.
Gentlemen,
yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you guys for your work.
Appreciate it.
Hang around. You can go and come back if you want, or just watch.
oh, I know.
You risk learning something.
You might.
There's Brian outside the chance.
He is.
Hello, buddy. How are you? Welcome.
How we doing?
Good.
Mr. Landfill.
Hi. Kevin, how's it going?
Doing great.
Better have better news than the guys before you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no guarantees
I
there.
don't know about that. No bad news. Everything's going as usual. Trench E is now full though, and we've began the engineered, approved, state approved 2-foot lift on the west end, and we'll work our way to the east.
I had fun making one of the last loads on it too.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lift one, okay,
Yeah.
not blowing a lot.
No, well, yesterday that storm came through and it got a little, but overall this time of year, we don't usually have that problem like we do in the wintertime where it's an everyday deal, just to try to wrangle the trash. Still trying to get a hold of the surveyor. I called 3 out of Salida yesterday just to try to get one on the phone. Alan Altman out of Colorado City. I reached out to Kit Shy and he reached out to him, and so I still haven't heard. So I'm just gonna keep calling until I get a hold of one.
What's your deadline? How soon do you need?
There is no deadline. The sooner we get it, the surveyor, the sooner we can start digging. The state hopefully will be approving the expansion in the next 2 months, or give or take. I'm not sure exactly how long it's going to take, but it was agreed that we would go ahead once it was surveyed. We'd go ahead and dig the trench even before it was approved, and then wait for the approval to start filling it.
And that was agreed with the state.
Yeah, Jill had no problem with that. Yeah. Mhm.
I need to ask you a crazy question. Would the state have an issue if we started digging without it being officially surveyed?
Yeah, I doubt it.
I mean, how long have you tried to get a surveyor? A month anyway. huh?
Yeah, right.
And nothing.
And nothing. I mean, I have the map from the engineers that, shows you where the first
Right.
trench is laid out and how far apart each trench is. I just,
You guys gotta know it
I
on the
want the
ground.
official corners of the trenches
Right.
and then, surveyed before we could get it. Yeah, no, she didn't say anything about that. It's county
You know
property.
where I'm headed.
Yeah.
right? We measure it and we start digging.
Yeah, I know where you're headed.
Because we don't have a fixed deadline, but we're darn sure on the clock.
Yeah, we're on the
Right.
clock. Yeah.
How long
That's
is
the
this 2-foot
deadline.
lift gonna last us?
The engineers thought 4 months.
Oh, really? On the 2-foot?
On 2-foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's way
So
longer. than I
that was
expected.
based off of the calculations that I gave them. I think probably from 2021, end of 2021 calcs for the whole year. They just adjusted it, averaged it, and
Wow,
you know.
so that's longer than I
That'll be
would
a pretty
have
good-
expected.
yeah,
So not in a panic mode yet.
not quite,
which I
but
was kind of getting there.
right. And I'm hoping that a surveyor will either show up or I can get a hold of one this week. It won't take a month, I wouldn't think. But I'm not saying to
You'll
do the
get-
whole expansion.
Right.
Don't need to worry about
Survey
it.
3 trenches.
3 trenches.
All you need is the first one.
The first one. 2 of them
Yeah.
would be best.
If they're there,
Which,
it doesn't take much longer to.
Yeah,
survey.
it does. Set 4 more corners.
Right.
which is why I asked.
Have you tried Geomark?
Uh-uh.
Get their number from Amy because they're up here a lot.
Are they? Okay.
They do a lot of recording and stuff anymore.
Joe Mark. Okay. I'll do that right now. Well, after this. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I can see the look in your eye. Yeah, that same look when I'm wanting something to write with.
Perfect.
That is your report, basically.
That's it.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think you're trying to get off.
That's good.
Want to talk to us about scraping?
Scraper, yeah. So I got a hold of Wagner Rents and got on the list, and I don't know how far out we'll be as far as getting one from Wagner Rents. Now, I did talk to Sean Gady, who's with Colorado Earthworks and Forestry, and his scraper is out of the shop and available to rent. And it's comparable to Wagner Inn as far as the price.
In the local boys, the headlines got one.
He is local, John is.
I was thinking about it.
I don't know if Ed has a
Another-
paddle wheel or not. We need to have a paddle wheel. So,
Yeah, can scrapers.
yeah, it would cost too much money
Yeah.
for us, and we wouldn't have the manpower to,
Yeah.
for 2 scrapers, 2 non-paddle wheels. Month's time, we can dig the first one, me and Rusty, if we team up on it. We could dig the first trench and probably half the second trench in 160 hours, which is a month.
So I suppose kind of wait on that to jump on then that scraper, depending upon your
Survey.
survey.
It's kind of my thought is, once we get it surveyed, and I haven't heard from Wagner Rents, I think we got to jump on it. And,
Tie it up.
yeah, and
And you said the lease was comparable.
yeah. Wagner Rents, I think was 25 or 26, I don't remember, and Sean's is 25.5.
And you budgeted 25, right?
25.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we did an RFP to try to utilize local contractor to do that.
I think we're way out of bid at that.
It was a disaster. So
Yeah.
if we're gonna consider Colorado Earthworks, then we're gonna be faced with a decision. Do we put that out again for RFP? Do we rent that scraper?
Yeah, I don't know what in my opinion, this is just my thought is we have 2 bids. I don't know if it needs to go in RFP by using local. But
And
I don't know how, we're running out of time
Yeah.
too. An RFP would take, what,
Oh,
it would take 2 months
Yeah.
probably. And so,
but if it's an emergency, we can't get it the other way, we'll have to consider.
yeah,
Let's see what you
I
got.
don't know if there's any problem with using Sean versus Wagner Rents. I just don't see why there would be.
yeah, well, politically, there could be,
Sure.
without going through an RFP, but the purchasing policy does say in extenuating circumstances, Canada mentioned in an emergency, we can do whatever we need to. So if we were down to it and couldn't get Wagner Rents, then I'd say that gives us an avenue to move forward. Just hiring a local company, I don't know.
You need to stay on top of both of them, so you can see which one springs it loose.
Yeah, well, survey, as long as we get that done, then I can
Commit to Wagner.
commit to, see Wagner's at, I mean, they just got on the list, they may say tomorrow,
Yeah.
they got one ready, but
Or they may say November or December,
yeah.
who knows? Huh?
Well, and it's just, okay, what's Sean have coming up in the future? I mean,
Yeah, same thing.
same thing,
Right.
all of a sudden he says, I gotta go. Like, you can't wait around. So that's why the surveys, I just got.
Sooner the better.
Done, right? So first guy I get a hold of and can do it.
See what you get.
So that's where I'm at. We're at landfill.
Good.
Good year.
Thank you, sir.
Yep,
Appreciate it.
no problem.
for coming in.
Yep.
Have a Good day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
Hey Doug, good morning. You were talking about a flight this morning already, huh?
I was,
Wow,
you know where I was.
I do not. If I do, I don't remember. I just read your email that you had an early flight. Pardon?
Kurt's copter.
No, I did not know that. You saw it titled. And I do not appreciate that. I think he's my neighbor.
Our neighbor.
My- oh.
Where's
Wow.
Virginia?
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good, you?
Good.
Morning.
Morning. One to sign.
Ours to admire.
Thank you.
To look at.
Put it on top so I don't accidentally sign the other one yet.
The only issue we have is the airport fund that we need to fix. It's still in the negative. We were supposed to have a workshop, which we haven't gotten together yet, to know how we're going to fill that.
Yeah, Braden said.
May get worse before it gets better.
I heard.
So no other surprises, huh?
Not that I know of. Could be, but I don't know of them.
They're always in.
Well, that's the only issue I really see that sticks out, isn't it? Okay,
I do have a question for me, Mr. Chair.
you may.
We had this partial conversation this morning about unused ARPA dollars. Somebody is an entity or an individual that we granted that money to, if they can't use it, does that get deposited back to you?
It already did. I got 21 cents for Round Mountain.
No.
They got put back into ARPA.
Okay, so if we were talking about Wetmore and Fire, if they had 6,000, Wetmore, sorry, if they had $6,000 that they did not choose not to use for whatever reason, they would write a check back to the treasurer's office.
Already put that whopping 21 cents.
Wow. Nice, and we'll be able to document that somewhere.
I put it in the ARPA fund.
If there is a line item,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I mean, if an audit happened tomorrow, then that would show up.
Mhm.
Yeah, perfect.
So the letter worked. They knew the address, where to send it back.
Well, I think she called
I don't know.
finance.
That's-
And she called you too. Yeah.
And so in regards to that, I'll put Tanner in touch with you probably.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I'll put Tanner in touch with
Okay.
you so that he gets everything proper.
Are we formally making a motion to accept this, or did we decide we didn't need to?
If he's gonna sign it, we probably do.
I move we accept the report she's
I'll second.
presented.
Yeah, motion on the floor to accept the treasurer's report for, that's
Me.
May. Just trying to do my math in my head there real quick.
We're a month behind.
Yes, we are. By design.
Mhm.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 It sent me an email asking about grant dollars.
We already found it. The 25,000, 533, 37, something like that. Mhm. Yeah,
Should we
it's
get
the,
another?
it's the sheriff's office. It came through on the bank and it said law on it. And then they finally woke up and said, oh, it's ours.
I just got an email yesterday. Should be getting another check for a grant that we wrote for weed board.
So can you print that out? So I'll have it in my office.
Yeah, 15,000. I'll forward that email to you.
Okay. Yeah, it's been helpful having those. Dorothy has started giving us a bunch of that and it's really helped when we get the money in.
Yeah,
Okay.
we wrote that grant last summer and we were notified a couple weeks ago that we were awarded that. So
Thank you, Virginia. It done good.
good to see you as always. Yeah.
Dorothy, could you reach out to Laura?
Oh, I will be stuck.
We're a little,
Good to be running here.
we're a little ahead of schedule.
love it.
We're either way ahead or way behind.
That's
Right on the money.
right.
There's never any happy medium.
That would take all the fun out of everything.
It would.
How come I can't pull up treasurer email? Custer treasurer.
Custer treasurer at. Is it coming up that way?
She's on her way.
I have a hard time
Thank you.
pulling hers up too. CC treasurer maybe,
Pardon?
CC treasurer, or she might just be treasurer at. I think she's just treasurer. JD's Custer assessor. No,
Maybe it's Custer treasurer. No, we're trying that, didn't we? Well, crap.
I'm gonna have to just click on the two and find that.
I got this new computer and man, it just, none of that old email address is carried forward. I don't find it there either. You have an email address for Virginia?
Maybe you've not put it in there yet.
Right,
In
that's-
the new one, it's so it's not.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's just treasurer.
Yeah, it's treasurer.
Treasurer at.
At custercountygov.com.
Okay, thank you.
What I had.
Yours is Custer clerk or just clerk?
Custer clerk,
And JD's?
Custer assessor.
Different.
I don't know. I sort of wish I didn't have the Custer on mine because it makes it this.
Yeah,
You'd wreck the whole state if you changed yours.
I would.
You want to declare a break for a minute then?
I will, while we're waiting on Laura.
yeah, thank you.
All right.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I saw that.
No, you
All right.
I didn't notice.
My knees bother me and I'm not standing.
That's
All there is to it. No.
Time is now
It's all that walking
9:47,
you do. Walking.
and I will reconvene this meeting of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. And welcome, Laura.
Welcome. How is everybody today?
Dandy.
Dandy, dandy day, huh? You got all my reports?
Yes, we did.
And they're all just,
Even the ones you said you'd quit sending.
no, I didn't. Well, did I send one? I said that I quit sending. I may have,
You did.
because I don't know which one that is. Community service. No, I didn't send it. Did I send that? No.
I think he was.
Start to
No,
Colorado
I think I
Works was the one I had.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I have that one. And you can just, yeah,
Yeah,
you
it
can
was,
see we don't have a too
Thought I
many.
could catch her.
No, well, you know, it's probably that community service
I
block
think it
grant
is.
one. And there's still, no, I do have it in here. I don't know. But we're still messing around with that. This thing,
Needs to go away.
well, no, they just need to, got somebody new and they're working on it. And the dollar amount, every time I turn around, the dollar amount is different. So I'm like, okay, you just tell me, give me the starting amount and then we'll just go from there. Because at first she told me I had a bunch of COVID money and I'm like, no, I have $188. And then she got back to me and she goes, I was wrong about that. You don't have that much money. You have $188. Yes, I was pretty sure I did, you know, so we're just trying to get through all of that. So I haven't really, that one I'm trying to get with the gal and she's doing a new app and we're doing all this stuff. And so when she gets everything settled, I'm going to get with her and we're going to get that ironed out. So that could have been the one. But anyhow, I did get some more money from them. So I have money. Energy Outreach Colorado, I'm out of money. Then they told me they had extra money. They could give me some. I said, okay. Asked for 1,500. Still haven't heard anything back from them. So I'm waiting to hear on that. But we'll see. Energy Outreach, I had to submit my grant for next year. I did that. I always ask for 10,000. They give me 5 and I ran out of money this year. I'm hoping they're watching that. So when I did it again, I asked for the same. So we'll see what they give me this year because they just don't, I don't know. When you see I'm out of money real early in the season, you should be thinking that there's a reason that I'm asking for the amount that I'm asking for. But I don't know. So we'll see what happens with that. And we're done with LEAP. LEAP got done the end of April. But in the end of June, they sent out a supplement payment to everybody. And they were talking about it. And then the end of June, they started sending them out. So everybody's getting another, well, I don't know amount, but it is $620.
And that didn't go through your office. They sent that directly.
They send it directly to the vendor or to the client, depending on who it is. And the only reason we knew it went out was because I was getting people calling me, asking me why did they have an extra $620? So we figured that out. So anyhow, so that's good. So they're getting some additional money for that. And yeah, and then our Medicaid transportation and stuff is holding steady about what it is. And our chief lab and our food benefits, we're still doing maximum benefits to everybody. Not sure when that's going away. State doesn't know when that's going away. We're just,
We were talking about that some months back.
oh yeah, we're
It was supposed to
still
leave.
just talking about it. And every month we get an extension report. If for some reason it doesn't issue the supplement, so you got to go through that. You got to figure out why the supplement wasn't issued, get that all taken care of. So it will be nice when that doesn't happen anymore, but people are going to be in a world of hurt when that goes off because they're used to that by now. And then our food benefits, they're fluctuating a bit. We saw a decrease in May. I don't have June's out there yet. And on our TFAB, that's been down for a while and it's staying down. Yeah, it just doesn't. We're just not seeing the people we were, so I don't know if that's good, bad, or what.
Is that the program where they come in and pick up
Mhm, the
boxes?
boxes, our food boxes. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and we were doing, 26, 27, 28, sometimes 30. In May, we did 22. So yeah, it's been down for a while. I don't know what's going on with that, but we get it out there. We try to get it in the paper. It wasn't in the paper last time, even though I submitted it, I guess, because there was too much political,
A lot of ads.
a lot of stuff in there. Yeah, so I don't know if that's why I didn't make it in, but
You have to pay for that? or
no, I
does that
just
go
do
in?
it as an article. So no, I don't pay for that. So that works good, but yeah, it didn't get in there, so I'm not sure why.
Send a note asking.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Medicaid, we're supposed to go off of that sometime. We're still working with that. They don't know when that's gonna happen. We spend more time dealing with Medicaid lately than we do anything else. A lot of people on Medicaid, they're locked into Medicaid, doing redeterminations on people who eventually will sometime go off Medicaid. But yeah, it's just, I spend more time doing conference calls with Medicaid than I do anything else right now, because it's such a, I don't know, so many people reapplying, so many people who are on, they should come off. And then we're seeing more people applying for long-term care services, that type of stuff. So yeah, our Medicaid is really booming. We're seeing some of our other programs, not so much, but our Medicaid is booming. Let's see, anything else exciting going on? I can't think of anything.
Rhonda's birthday successful.
Yeah, yeah. Had you guys sign those MOUs? Now they're sure, they were talking about changing them. Yeah, lawyers got a hold of them. Now they want to change them, but they decided to leave them alone for right now. Then they'll get it worked out. And then if they want to, they'll send them to us again. It's just,
So we good?
you're good. You're good. They told everybody, sign the old ones, get them to us, and we'll work it out later. Because some people weren't signing it, and they said, you got to get these to us. So get them signed, and so that's what we're doing now. So see, we were on top of it, and then, well, I had to have you guys sign them because I had to get them in before that.
At least the ball's not in our court.
No, it's not. Yeah, somebody was going, well, I don't think that this language is right, or this language is right. It's because they separated them. So anytime you separate something, you gotta get in there and look at it really, really deep. So we'll see if they send something back or not. If so, I'll get it to you, but we're good for right now.
So I have questions for you. Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Chairman. About process, I guess I've never really asked this. So let's take Colorado Works, for example.
Okay.
Get budgeted X number of dollars
I get an allocation for that.
allocation. And
Uh-huh.
so do they literally send you a check, or is that credited electronically?
Yes, no, it's they don't send a check. Everything's done electronically.
You don't deal with the money, really. You're.
No, no.
You make sure it gets passed through.
Yeah, because they have cards, the people who are on have their cards and they get the money off.
It gets
And
loaded.
then it just goes down, and if we're over our allocation, we can mitigate for more money. We're not, so we don't need to do that. That's how it is with child welfare, the same thing, same way with the daycare program. And I can also transfer money from some of the programs to another program. Like if I'm over in Colorado Works, and I can transfer money from my daycare into my Colorado Works.
Okay.
So we can move money around like that a little bit. But we're okay. They share on Colorado Works daycare and child welfare. I didn't have to mitigate for anything. So that was good. They have a mitigation pool on that. What we've had problems with is our adult protection. We see we're having more adult protection cases than we've had before. And we got a call from the state, and it's because they noticed that a lot of counties, small counties like us, who don't get a lot of funding for adult protection, or over our allocation in that. They don't have any suggestions for us on what to do about that, but they noticed that
That's nice of them to notice.
it was nice of them to notice. And she said, I know that's not a good thing because we can't help you out, but it's showing that there's a need to increase your allocations. Yes, that would be nice. Thank you very much. So we'll see what they do with that. We're okay on
But in
our.
October, did they go in October?
No, we're on state fiscal, the end of June. So we'll get new funding, but I'm not sure what
Time for them to increase it.
Yeah, it's the time for them to increase it. So I just got my budget letter one day last week and I haven't had a chance to look at it to see what they've done with it yet. So, and we have some money in our APS, it's Elder Abuse Act. Something, it was a COVID funding, and we've spent part of it. We have a little extra money in there, but they won't let us use it for exceeding our allocation. So we can use it for provider or services for the clients if they need something like that. And we're working with somebody right now that we're going to use some of those funds for, but I can't use it just because we're over our allocation for salaries or whatever.
Right.
So, because we tried, the gal said, well, let me, we'll have a little conference about it. And we'd already looked at it, me and Stacy, and said, none of these things are going to fit in that. And then she got on the phone and went over them with us. And we said, she goes, no, these are going to fit in there. Yes, we know that already, but thank you for taking the time to tell us that. So that's where we are with that. And we are at the end of the fiscal year, in June. So we'll see what happens with all of that.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. If you have any questions, always
Thanks for
just,
traveling all the way down
oh,
here.
yes, just come and
Thanks a lot,
see us
Laura.
anytime if you have questions. Or need services, okay?
Yeah,
In the
we need
elder,
services.
in the elder part of
We
that,
need
okay?
services. Kelly and I want to sign up for those boxes.
Oh, okay,
You rounded noon.
Oh, yeah.
That guy asked you. a question.
okay. I have a few light bulbs left, not
Do
many.
you? Yeah, I haven't had much luck distributing the ones you gave me.
Oh, well, but I got rid of all, we may have 10, 15 of them, and we had a lot of them, so we did well on that, so.
Good, good.
All right. See you
Thanks,
guys.
Laura. Adrian, you are up, sir.
We've agreed we're not having IT, correct?
Yes, so we were,
Well, I'm gonna do it just because I don't want to.
Looks good, Bill.
You rascal. Oh, I'm not
I want
happy
you to
with
know
you.
that I gave my seat up to a younger Washington.
Oh, you did?
I
You
did.
didn't go at all, or you did go?
Well, I was there, but I didn't get up.
You didn't get
I
on?
got in, but I didn't get in the air.
Oh,
I gave-
okay. Well,
gave
I'm a little pacified.
It
yet.
is-
I haven't been in it yet.
His smile was worth $1 million when he
He's
got
called
back.
me 3 times, wanting to know if I wanted to go with him, and I just had conflict.
Suggest that all of you take a look at that because I think it would be a beautiful resource in an emergency
Sure.
for the county.
and this flight was,
Hmm?
this flight was,
A helicopter flight. We have
Private resident.
private resident
had a
has a helicopter
Oh,
that he's
There's
made
2 of them,
available
actually.
to the county.
You know that?
Pretty nice one. Dave.
Al has one,
Lebanon?
right? His buddy has one.
Yeah.
The black one.
I can't think of it.
But since it's a great resource, and he did share, I had him fly up, up the valley, look into the timber to see where we had a lot of down timber and this tremendous amount of down timber east or north of Alpine Lodge along that thing. So the windstorm has done substantial damage.
All right, I'm talking to you again. then.
Talk a little louder.
Get upset with Linda
Right.
and Robbie got up there. So that was a really good thing for
Yeah.
him.
Keep, you can't hear on the microphone.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Well, we're ready to start. You have my report. I think it's condensed, but it's all there. It's been a very busy month. There's not really, other than we have a workshop scheduled with the library district on August 9th. I think it's going to be the date. It's going to be a fire mitigation workshop. And we were going to do a kind of a 2-part workshop. We decided with the price of gas that we probably will just do one workshop.
So I had a quick question on that.
Yes,
It's with the library district, meaning it's in the library.
it's in a library.
Okay, and it's open to who?
It's open to the entire public.
Okay, so a question I had is, are you gonna advertise it?
Yes, we are.
Could be in,
And they're going to take care of that.
Okay.
Put it in the 2 local papers.
Okay.
And it's a partnership. But our goal is to try to do a series of these throughout the year to bring the new members of the community up on what fire mitigation entails and what defensible space is. So we're going to take our winner and loser symposium that we did last year, but just show pictures of what we want. This
Before
is
and
a-
after.
Yeah, this is a good home. This is a not so good home. And then we'll talk to them about what they can do to bring them up to standards. And then
And what it costs.
the workshop is free.
I know, but
We'll talk about
about how to get it done and the pricing and all that jazz. When they're reimbursed from the state or used,
not this.
not
is-
grant, the whole process is really what I'm.
Yeah, we're gonna walk through the entire process. And then, there's a couple bills available right now. There's a new one. I think I had that in my notes as well. Let's see. Yeah, the AIM, Action Implementation Mitigation Concept.
Mhm.
That grant had closed down. They extended it 2 weeks. We just found out about it, but we're going to try to submit a proposal to that to do fire mitigation work also. We could use that in combination with the PLPT money, private money, or NRCS money, and the Forest Service money. We're trying to look at this comprehensively, and instead of each of the various agencies, BLM, Forest Service, National Resource Conservation Service, and the county, instead of, everyone going their own way, to try to look at a concentrated area and do our activities each year together, so we get the most bang for our buck. And so that workshop is tentatively scheduled on the 9th. We had it scheduled for the 9th and the 30th. I'm not available on the 30th because of a training in Pueblo, but the 9th seems like it'd be a good day. And that'll be from 10 o'clock till noon at the library in their conference room. And I think the relationship with the library is going to be extremely good relationship, because they can put up like a little kiosk, fire mitigation kiosk, and everyone who then goes in the library will be able to get handout materials. They'll be able to we'll put up some videos that they'll be able to see on what fire mitigation is. We're also working with the folks over at ACE, and then with some of the smaller fire mitigation folks in town, because there are a lot of people who would like to do fire mitigation or defensible space work around their homes, but because of their age, they're not able to do that work. So we're trying to encourage contractors to be able to work with landowners and not bill them on an hourly basis, but a flat rate. So it's going to cost you $300 or $250 to do the principal rate, and they can program that into their budget and know each year they need help.
You're talking about around town, grass areas and.
Yeah, throughout the county.
Yeah.
Yep, anywhere in the county to try to do a flat rate. And you figure if you charge someone $250 and you did 100, or 200 or 300 homes, you can make a good living doing fire mitigation work here in the county. So we're just looking at options for people. The fire mitigation / cleanup day was well attended finally on Highway 78. I still would like to look at maybe having a chip. Kevin, you mentioned having a chipper day, but we can find 2 locations in the county. We have the chipper available now, and I think we also could use some of the PLPT money to staff that chipper maybe 2 days or on a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and let people bring their clippings to the chipper and we chip them and dispose of slash that way. So.
Yes, sir.
When you say we have a chipper available, are you talking about the Road and Bridge County owned? chipper?
Yes, sir. And use the PLPT money to, let's use the term rent that from them, even though we already own it. I don't want to damage their piece of equipment and not be able to fix it if we hurt it.
And per Vince, the road and bridge supervisor, that needs to be staffed by road and bridge personnel because they have the training on that machine.
Absolutely, I would agree with that.
The last thing we want to do is have somebody that's not qualified to be on that machine run body parts or something like that through it.
No, I would totally agree with Vince on that, and that's why I said we could use some of the PT money to pay that overtime if necessary.
Yes, sir.
May I? AFN on June 9th.
Access and functional needs.
And when you say
Which it
cash
says right
portable
there.
generator, you mean have some in inventory that you can loan out?
Yes, and we did not get approved, but they didn't promise, but they gave me pretty good that this fall, when that comes about, we can use and have that project funded that way.
I see on June 10th, you have it spelled out. I'm sorry. I hung up on the 9th.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that would provide generators. So someone calls and says, hey, my power is out, it's gonna be out a long time, that we can come alongside them and provide them with some temporary power. And then if it's a long-term, if we identify that it's successful, then they can actually go to the program and get their own generator, and then that puts ours back into the system for use by someone else.
Variable message signs,
Yes.
they're in the lot.
Right now, I have one out of service there at Lake Delis, and we have one in the lot, and then one out at San Isabel. And if we need those for the fairground, I need to know pretty quick, because I can move those two out. But we have the road construction sign north of town, so that's going to be difficult. But if we need to put one where we put it last year, just to point them in the direction of where they need to go for the rodeo, I can move one out on Monday and set it up there.
We have a fair board meeting
Thursday of this week. So just
We'll-
let them know
we'll
we
talk
have
about it.
two available that they could use if they need them.
Okay.
What you want it, San Isabel say?
Nothing right now. We blanked it.
It's there.
Yeah, it's this.
They're all functional.
They're all functional, but we, when the stage one went down, we just blanked the signs. We left it at San Isabel because they're gonna have another slash cleanup day. And we could use it for that, but we have two available that we could use locally here. if we
And you
need
have
to.
locks on those hitches?
Yes,
If I may, Sue.
Go ahead.
What's the status on our air quality monitoring station?
we've got one of the units, the N5 units that they gave us. The other was not functional, did not come with the solar panels. We weren't able to do that, so they're looking for another unit. But I just got access to the program. If you come by, I can show you the type of data that it does, but I'll tell you how sensitive the sensor is. I had a DR brush hog that I was using at 11:45 the other day, and it kind of choked and spit, and that sensor went crazy. It picked up on that, and she says, sent me an email, said, something happened in the county around 11:30 on, I think it was the 3rd of July, and I said, I didn't have any. I looked at the activity log, and then it recalled that I had fired up that mower and it blew smoke, and that sensor picked up that.
How
And
close was it?
it probably was probably 800 feet when it coughed, but it was able to detect that change in air quality. And she actually said yesterday, our air quality here, and we all know that is excellent. We have some of the best air anywhere in the nation, she said. So it's a pretty positive thing. So it's just funny that the sensor picked up, because I didn't have a clue. I said, well, we did not have any fires at that time. And I started thinking through, what I was doing that day, and it turned out that was the source.
Good. So we have one functional and you're working on the second.
We have one function on, they're looking to get us another one, and we have permission to put it on the radio tower there at the SAR building. And so we'll put one there, and those two will talk, and we'll get some good data, and then we can make a determination what we want to do in the future. Yeah.
It's good.
So you mentioned PILT.
Yes.
Obviously Guinevere's gone. I don't know if we need to look at expending some of those dollars. That's a process to go through that, but haven't heard anything from Corona Verde, I take it.
No, haven't heard anything further from them. But at our hazard mitigation meeting with the Forest Service last week, they have some project money that they're looking at. Natural Resource Conservation Service are doing their mitigation projects. We didn't make any agreements, but we all think the concept of trying to work together to get the most bang for our buck in a geographic area would be kind of the best approach. And then this new grant that is on your last page, the AIM Action Implementation Mitigation Concept. They also look for partnerships. And so I always keep kind of a project in the box, on the shelf. And I'm going to try to submit something, but I'm going to mention that to our CS group tomorrow at our meeting to see if the fire district might be interested in that grant as well. So we not only have the possibility of using PLPT funds to do some mitigation, but we also have this AIM grant, and then we can do that in conjunction with the NRCS grant and work together as a team to try to make it work.
Time out then. So Tom, you brought it up. The issue is we don't have access to it because she's not here, or we need to figure out a way of doing it right, or what was the question you
Thank
raised?
I appreciate that. Yeah, we have the money. It's a process thing moving forward. Adrian and Guinevere kind of teamed up on that on the last one. It didn't, it never materialized, but I suspect we should probably put that announcement in the paper that we are prepared to fund some mitigation projects. It's been a while since I've read all the language on that, what's eligible and what's not. I'd really like to see us try to get on board with Tanglewood and see if we could get them to buy into.
Yeah, and we had a rule. If you got it last year, you're lower priority this year, or whatever it was. I forget when we were discussing it before, but you're right. We need to understand put the news out.
At that meeting the other night, speaking of cooperating between entities, the Forest Service is frustrated because of some of the things that they try to do, and then neighbors across the fence. So if they're doing something and BLM doesn't do any mitigation on theirs,
Yeah,
are they
then
throwing that money
what good is
away?
it, right?
And so that might be something to look at as well. The county partnering with some of these other agencies to
Definitely.
leverage those dollars and get more mitigation work done more effectively.
And with the PLPT funds, I think if we, Tom, to address your question, if we were to advertise earlier without getting too specific, it'd be nice to be able to allocate some of that money without, like, for example, paying for the labor to use the county chipper. It would be nice to have that so that we have the flexibility. Okay, we approve it early and we know that we're not going to do it until June, July, August, September, or something like that, but to have that concept in that. And then also that give the public the opportunity to say, okay, we have some projects. Have you considered that? I think the more we go out and talk to people and find out what the need is, then we can, but we're somewhat limited in the PLPT money to, I think there's specifically says homeowners associations.
It
Whereas-
does. There are a couple other,
Nuances.
yeah, I looked at federal language a couple weeks ago. It's primarily designed for homeowner associations.
And I think we do some with flexibility because of the fire risk, but we probably could do some weed work with some of that money. Take a look at that. But, and just, the evasive, they're not really evasive, that prickly thing was what I came up with.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I saw that
that,
picture.
we need to, I was really impressed with the weed committee meeting that I attended. And it just opens your eyes to the weed problem that we have in the county. And from a hazard perspective, my
They
job
burn
is.
too. They burn.
They burn too, and from a hazard perspective, it can have an adverse impact on our hay crop. So I'm not a hayman, but I know that if you have weeds mixed into it, into the wrong types of weeds, it can degrade the quality of the hay that we produce here in the valley. So my eyes were open to see the abundance of weeds, and then to realize that when we do have a wildfire, the first primary species that comes in primary succession goes back to your biology days. But the first thing that comes in when land is disturbed is probably weeds. And if they're
Get your
there,
local weed question answered.
yeah, it wasn't local weed, it was a poppy. And it's a native poppy. But if you look in the fields this year, it's just all over the place. But if you get that weed when you cut your hay, and that's in the hay, you can lessen the value of that hay by 50%. So it's something that we need to monitor a little bit. And that's about all I have.
Thank you for coming in.
All right.
Senator, I'll catch you flying over my house.
All right.
Excuse me, sir.
I don't need any sparrow missiles coming my way. So. It was a good day. I wish I had that job.
Get a hold of sheriff.
He's not coming. Okay,
No sheriff's report.
thank you for that. That was my question. Okay, so we do not have a sheriff today either. So do we have any unfinished business, gentlemen?
I do not.
Nope.
None here either. New business. We have 3 items on there on our agenda for that. First of which is the consideration of the road names for Pelling subdivision. And we have a resolution that everyone received. What's your pleasure?
I move we accept, or get the action going here, a resolution, county resolution number 2220 as written on the resolution of Custer County, a political subdivision of the state of Colorado naming certain roads in the Kelling Colony Creek subdivision.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve Custer County Resolution number 22-20. Discussion.
Oh, it looks fine. It's what we said they're going to do, and they fixed the road that was missing. Looks good to me. Clint, did you have any?
I think it's a masterpiece of
I
legal
forgot. Oh,
brevity.
yeah.
I figured we were gonna have to hear that at some point.
I think it serves the purpose, recognizing those road names, and JD will enter them in, and that's where it really matters, is JD to have them on all his maps now.
Well, the mail will get delivered to the right
Yeah.
place, and more importantly, the ambulance will go to the
Yeah,
right place.
That's
What the real
whole
issue
idea.
was.
Get those signs up and everything.
We have hard copy today.
I do have a hard copy here.
You want to see it?
No, I'm looking at it. I just want to know if he had.
I have one from signatures. Anything else? Okay, anybody else have a discussion on this from the floor? No hands are up. All right, those in favor of adopting Custer County Resolution number 22-20 signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Carries.
I have to call Braden up.
Thank you, bye.
Is he on his way already or?
I had sent him an email. He's on his way.
Okay.
Have to speak. Have to speak.
Grab a drink of water real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit the button.
Okay, we'll take a short recess while waiting on Braden.
Finance.
All right, the time is now 10:28 a.m. and I will reconvene this meeting of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. Our next item is consideration of county building 4-day work week.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
I apologize. I was not expecting 40 minutes ahead of schedule. So, you know.
Here were we.
So congratulations on that. All right. So as I mentioned yesterday in my report, we at the quarterly staff meeting, this was brought up and had some discussion during that point. We also had another point where we talked as department heads and really analyzed what this could look like, as well as what would be the strengths, weaknesses, things that, how it would affect the county. And so I've got this presentation here this morning. This first page, I just talk about what the proposal is that we would change the county building hours from Monday through Friday, which is 8 to 4 currently, to Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5. The work hours for building employees would then change from Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, to Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 5:30. So we would be going to a 4-10 work week.
Just a
based on
quick
what this
question,
looks.
because it's important for everybody here.
Yep.
County building employees. So what offices are affected?
So that's going to be planning and zoning, IT, finance and HR, DHS, clerk and recorder, treasurer, assessor, and extension. Maintenance custodial would be kind of next to that as well. They don't totally operate off of our work hours, and so I would say they are affected by it though. VSO would be another one that, at least in talks with Jared, he's more or less working around on a schedule similar to this already.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right, so that's the proposal is moving from 5 days to 4 10s, being Monday through Friday. So why?
So how many hours is that a week? Same.
I'll get to that. There,
Well,
we kind of break it
the
down,
hours here, 7:30 to 5:30
which is 10 hours of that day.
in a day. So it's
Yeah.
4 10-hour days
Correct.
is what you're proposing.
Yes. All right, so why the change to begin with? Why are we bringing this up? First of all, employees are our most important assets in providing great service and resources to our county residents. With less cost of driving in each week and increased time off, employee morale and productivity will soar. Being open later each day will make it easier for working class county residents to conduct business at the county. And there is a great opportunity to be more fiscally responsible by cutting energy costs and providing even more services online. So easy to say those kind of things. Let's kind of look through some of the data there. Vernon was kind enough to look through some footage over over 3 weeks, just to see how many people actually come into the building and on what days. So on this graph here, starting from the left to the right, that's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for each of those weeks. So sample data here, I would say that week 1 is kind of askew compared to what week 2 and 3 look like. So there would be an opportunity here to maybe collect some more data, but because you'll see Tuesday and Wednesday on this week 1 sample are way lower than what the other two are.
So what's the axis? It's up to 25 people, visitors, transactions?
20 people coming in the building.
For some,
For
one of these
some-
offices.
Something, yes.
There's a
So-
left-hand column, that numerical value stands for the number of customers.
Number
coming in.
of, yes.
That's the axis
yeah,
I asked.
Correct.
And so on the middle of the week, we had 6 people coming in this building.
Right.
Period.
7 people, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
7, I guess.
Yeah, so as you can see, this shows Monday and Tuesday really are our busiest days of the week. And anecdotally, we've heard this around in departments that Mondays and Tuesdays tend to be busy. Friday is not that busy. So as far as answering the question of why Friday, if you turn the page there, it's because it's our least busy day. There was discussion on whether maybe Monday would be better to make sure that people that work for the school could still come and do work on Fridays. And it just made more sense for Friday, given that it has an average of 11 visitors versus Monday and Tuesday having an average of 18.
Okay, got another quick question just for David.
Hmm.
What about people calling on phones looking for answers from out of state or even within the state governments to other people issues that might be calling in?
Government to
Do we have
government.
any
or-
data on phone calls, transactions?
No, not numbers.
Things.
Anecdotally, again, people have said that there's calls that they can't make on Friday because those places are closed. And then as well as just from the public coming in, there's also been the comment a few times that we didn't know you were open on Fridays. We thought you were closed. So I don't have the numbers for
But you
you.
don't have any business calls and state grant people calling and public health, well, public health not considered here.
Right, not that was discussed. not that
Or
was
H,
brought up.
Human Resources, or Laura's group,
Right, yeah.
Human Services.
Yeah, Laura's actually go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we ran the numbers for phone calls the past 3 weeks.
That's good.
For our office. We don't have them with us, but we did, I think it was averaging like 6 phone calls on Friday.
I'd have to look, yeah, but I did do that, just try to keep track of how many people came in and how many phone calls. And I have it at the office, I have it with me.
That's okay, just curious, thanks.
Yeah, so, but we can get it if we need it.
Okay.
So on average, 72 people that come in, whether that's conducting business, we couldn't tell that for sure, but we would assume that they're coming in to conduct business as opposed to
Birthday
use the
parties.
restroom and eat at our birthday parties. So this next page is really where the meat is of all of this. This was the analysis that we did. SWOT analysis, if you're not familiar, is just taking something and looking at what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats by implementing something like this. And so I've got it separated like that. And then I've also got it separated by what really is mainly affecting the public, what's mainly affecting the county, what would be affecting both of them, both of us. And so on that strength side, towards the public, the strength would be that Friday is the least busy day of the week. If this were to be a day off, that would be a strength. Open later to the public Monday to Thursday. And so public doesn't need to take time off for county business or as much time. If somebody's working 8 to 4, 8 to 5, they only have to leave early from their job to come in and do some business as opposed to trying to come in on lunch hour or trying to take off time, use their personal time to come in and conduct business. On the county side, and I do think that this is the main point here, is that how are we supporting the employees? First of all, and I think very, very topical right now, it's 20% fuel savings for employees. There's one day that they wouldn't have to come in a week. And so whatever that distance is that they're coming in, which we know some are down in Fremont County, some in Custer County are 30 minutes away. So being able to cut out a day of driving back and forth would be a huge cost savings to employees, especially now with gas prices so high. Part of that too, in doing just a little bit of number crunching with that actually comes out to around 2 to 3%, a 2 to 3% raise in just that lack of cost for that lack of expense for fuel. That second point, family first for personnel. Anyone that has kids that's in the county, this is going to be helpful to them with the school being on a 4-day week, being able to not have to pay for daycare or secure some sort of childcare for that Friday. And just having that time to be with their kids as well. So Friday daycare savings. It would also be greater consistency with our other county departments. A lot of our other employees, Road and Bridge, Sheriff's Office, they already are on 410s. Landfill would be a bit of an exception to that, given that they're 4.5 days, 4.5 days a week. But given that they work on a Saturday, I don't think we're balking at that half day that they get off. The way that we're proposing would be that 30 minutes beforehand, that 30 minutes afterwards, which really there's been several times that I know anybody that's public facing, somebody comes in at 4 o'clock, they do business with them, and then they have to balance their drawers or something like that. So for example, the ladies in Kelly's office sometimes aren't leaving here until 4:30 or later because they've had to run some sort of permit or something for somebody. And then they have to balance their drawer after that. So part of that would be having this uninterrupted time for employees before and after public hours to get work done and to leave on time. Friday, just having that day set aside can be used for flex time or an extra day to get work done. I know as a department head, that's helpful for me, and when there doesn't seem like there's enough hours in the week to be able to come in and work uninterrupted and get things moving forward. Doctor appointments can be made on Friday, and so also hopefully less sick time. Sick time tends to happen on Mondays and Fridays, and so to be able to provide that other day there would be an opportunity to save some sick time for folks. No meetings after 4 without pay. What I mean here is there are a few departments that there are meetings that are scheduled at 5 or around that time with other people in their agency or their association, and so this would be another strength there, that they don't have to stay late or take off, flex time somewhere else because they stayed until 5:30 or 6 o'clock in order to be part of that meeting. Employees don't take off during week for personal business. They've got all of Friday to go around and go to the bank and do anything else that they need to. Other counties and agencies we work with are closed on Fridays. We talked about that a little bit, just that making calls and not being able to get a hold of some people because of that reason.
Any counties? What counties?
That are off.
Okay.
The ones that are close are Chaffee. Should grab my note. Fremont, Park. I don't believe where is.
Los Angeles, I think.
And Castilla. That's another one. Those are the closest ones to us that are on a 4-day week. And then clearly just one more day off is what that would be. So the strengths for both of them, for both the public and the county itself, moving from 2 days per week with no commissioner on site to only 1 day per week with no commissioner on site. I know that that's helpful when you all are here, and I've heard as much from the public as well. So having just 1 day that's not where somebody's not here would be great. School and town halls are also on a 4-day week. There would be one less day of fighting inclement weather if we have a lot of snow coming in. And then the current perception that we are already closed on Fridays. And we'd have 1 day of custodial savings, given that we're only open for 4 days. So. Any questions on the strengths? Kind of take it piece by piece here. Moving to weaknesses then. For the public, we're closed on Friday. That would definitely be a weakness. The perception of being open less hours, since the building, the way we're proposing would just be open from 8 to 5. This would seem like maybe we're working less, but we have that 30 minutes, that hour, 30 minutes on either side, that hour total that would be added. And then Friday due dates for a clerk are pushed to the preceding Thursday. So there are some things there that would change. Not necessarily the same across the board, like treasurer for Friday would be pushed to Monday. For the county, darker hours for arriving and leaving, especially during the winter. We already leave it dark for the most part at 4 come winter time. So this would just be moving into that more. Inclement weather faced earlier and later in the day. County sick leave revolves around an 8-hour day. And then anybody that has afternoon meetings for any extracurricular type things that they're doing, volunteer work that they do, that would possibly get in the way of those meetings. They would have to flex that time or do something, take that time off. Opportunities that we have for the public is possibly having more drop boxes for submitting documents during the weekend. I know we have a few departments that already do that. Greater online access for documents for the public. Again, already there's a lot of our departments have a lot of things available online. So this would be probably taking a good audit of that. And are there things that we could add electronic submission to, anything like that would make it easier for our employees to process things and for people to go ahead and do some work on the weekend if they needed to. For the county, when we're talking about anybody that has children, 7:45 is when the school hopes that you drop kids off at the earliest. And so, and then of course at 4 o'clock, buses running and dropping kids off. So possibly having a bus pick up and drop off at the county for anybody that does have children. Just a thought or an opportunity there. Staff meetings and things like that could be held during closed hours for greater participation. So I know specifically like Kelly's office or Virginia's office, there's somebody has to be there, and oftentimes several people have to be there. And so there are people that are not able and maybe have never been able to come to a staff meeting because they have to man the desk. So I think this could be a good opportunity to get greater participation in something like that. Energy cost savings. Right now, I don't think if we just implemented this that there would be a lot of energy cost savings, but I do think there is a good opportunity for that. Right now, as far as I'm aware, we don't have our thermostat set on a timer or anything like that. And so whether we're here or not, it stays at, depending on where you're at, either a balmy higher temperature or a lower temperature getting freezed out, depending on how the vents work. But I think that's something that during the summer, we could turn it down during the weekends, have 3 days of energy savings. And then again, in the winter, being able to let that go a little bit lower.
Got a quick one on that.
Yeah.
Courts are not gonna be on 4-day weeks.
Right.
The buildings used by the courts, so the energy's gonna not, you can't burn them out of the jury room currently or whatever.
Yeah.
So it may not be as black and white as it seems.
Sure.
That's all my point is.
Yeah, because I can't remember, I think we have 2 or 3 zones maybe in this part of the building, and then the Rock House kind of sits
And
separate.
this would have to be open, and then, but we do lock the doors on the offices.
Yeah, so
So
in
that-
talking with Becky, because their chief judge did say that they would have to be open for 5 days.
Yeah.
Becky is in complete support of this and mentioned that what they do is they'd handle it just like they did during COVID when the county building was shut down and they had to remain open. They would open up the court side, the door over there, and then she's got that new mobile door, or not door, but wall. So they put a barrier right here, come out of the court straight over to the window, the help window there. So that would be how that flow would happen.
So normal tickets getting paid or whatever, they can walk in and out.
Yep.
and Do their business.
Yep, exactly.
Jury duty or whatever.
Without coming over to this side. But I do mention that in the threat side, this side of the building would not be open. We would, of course, those doors for each department are locked during closed hours. So there's not a whole lot somebody could do, but it would not be manned on this side. And we'd have that, there would be an opportunity for somebody to maybe push the door aside and, I don't know, look at the bulletin.
So to be clear on the courts,
Yeah.
all the court traffic would come through the court doors.
Correct.
None through the county building.
Correct. So that's, and I put that as an opportunity. There was some support of this early on with the court. And then the chief judge came back and said, that they weren't going to be able to do that. I put it as an opportunity because I do think if this is happening regularly, that they could revisit that and possibly get the court to be closed on Fridays as well. They've got some data that I know that they're have the opportunity to collect as far as Fridays not being a very busy day for them either. And so being able to make a case for their chief judge on that. So then finishing up the threats, public discontent during the implementation period. Of course, there's the opportunity for that. And so just getting people used to a different schedule is going to be something that I'm sure we're going to hear back on. But again, would just point back to the data saying that of the days of the week, we're something like 12 or 14% coming in on Fridays, and we would be increasing the hours during the day to make it more available for those folks. Questions on SWAT side?
Well, a couple of thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
To the threat side first. Threat's a little overstated word here, but that's part of the SWAT thing. So I guess the potential would be there under the threat side of the public not supporting, not coming in here on Friday. There could be people that want to conduct business on Friday. I see you have public discontent during the implementation period, but there may be public discontent for the entire effort. And then my second comment would be, generally speaking, why couldn't we leave this front door unlocked so people could access the courts? If they're having court or they're having a hearing, then people can't really come through that court building to get to the clerk's office. If everybody locks their office doors, and maybe we had a way to lock off
Stairwell.
upstairs, then they could come in and use the restrooms. What else would be available? Nothing. So I would think the opportunity there might be to work with courts and say, hey, if you guys will man these doors on Friday, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, they could rip a poster off the wall or bust a light. Well, that could happen during the day on any given day. So I don't think just because we're closed would automatically mean they couldn't have access to this corridor primarily and the restrooms.
Sure.
It's not.
Yeah. Well, and I think that was from the thought of what's most restrictive, like
Right.
if we had to be as restrictive as possible, and that sounds like what happened during COVID. So I think it would definitely be.
Yeah, I can see the frustration of that door being open. People are going to assume they're going to be able to conduct business. Over time, the community would learn that just because the door's open doesn't mean all the offices in the building are open. It's only for access to the court.
And I think people want to come in and pay their tickets and do their business, not just go to a court hearing, but to come and go out.
Right,
It'd be
two
easy
things
to-
going on at the same
Easy to
time.
put a gate that expands across that stairwell.
Yeah.
And block it.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine why anybody would be upstairs during
No
connected to
reason.
courts.
Yeah, I mean, probation upstairs, but that would be the only thing possibly. So, which,
Like you mentioned before, all of the offices we lock them, so all the
Right.
offices upstairs, we lock when we leave anyway, the copy room gets locked.
Yeah.
So the only thing that would be available upstairs is the bathrooms. They would go upstairs, see everything was locked, and then come back down. So I don't think anything would get,
That's a good point.
yeah, I mean, it would be the same as down here if you did it that way.
and we do have the cameras too, so it wouldn't just be totally, it would be after the fact if something did happen, but we would at least have cameras for that, so.
I think we experienced a little of that when we went to Park County for that meeting on the EA.
Yeah, that didn't work, man.
I think their building is normally locked at that time, but then since the doors were open, they did have a couple people come in, but interaction went well with them.
We had to wait for somebody to open the door.
Yeah, we had to wait for somebody to open the door for us, but then somebody else made it in while we were in the middle of a meeting. Go ahead, sir.
Any other questions on this part? So the things that really didn't fit into that I wanted to point out is this other considerations. First of all, just hours of productivity. Currently, it's 8 to 4 and it's up to an hour lunch. So that would be 7 hours of productivity a day. 7 hours times 5 days would be 35 hours of productivity. Just with a similar way, switching to a 4-day week, 7:30 to 5:30 with a 1 hour lunch is 9 hours of productivity times 4 days, 36 hours. You multiply that by the 1 extra hour of 20 by 24 employees that work in the building. That's 24 hours more of productivity a week just by switching to this. And you're losing that Friday lunch is essentially what it comes down to. And so I think that's certainly something to point out in switching to something like this, that for the public eye to know that there would be 1 more hour of productivity just in the way that we're suggesting. The second piece would be the lunch policy. There's some inconsistencies in our policy, in case you didn't know. And this is one of them. Currently, it's stated in our policy as unpaid for county building. Well, it doesn't say that exactly. I'm sorry. It says that for everyone. Road and Bridge has an understanding, and I believe it was voted on somewhere by the commissioners, so they have a 30-minute paid lunch. These are the kind of things that would be helpful to have in the policy altogether. But this is where we're at. So currently it says that it's unpaid, but it also states that employees are paid for a 40-hour work week. So both of those can't be true. My suggestion would simply be that lunch is paid for up to an hour. And that would clean up the policy, and we'd handle it just the way we have been.
Which in reality is how it is right now,
Yes,
regardless of what any
correct.
thing is written down.
Yeah, because
Our
we,
employees are getting paid to take lunch.
yeah, because we do not keep track of time for building employees for sure, as far as how much lunch is taken. And so somebody that comes in from out of town and sits at their desk and eats lunch every day and has forever, is getting paid the same as somebody that takes the hour off to go and take lunch. So I think that's up to that person and that department to kind of control the flow of that. But the way we are currently handling it, we consider it an 8-hour day, regardless of how much lunch somebody took. So that would be my suggestion, is just writing it the way that we're actually living it. And then the last consideration that I have here is sick leave. Kind of a minimal thing, because Road and Bridge and the Sheriff's Department work off of this anyway, even though they're doing 410s. The jail does 12-hour shifts, but Road and Bridge and the patrol and the admin at Sheriff's Office do 410s. And they still only accrue 8 hours per month, which is based on that 8-hour day. So my suggestion would be that we consider a PTO leave plan in the near future that addresses that. And I don't want to get too in the weeds on that right now, but I think there's an opportunity to combine sick and vacation, have it accrue something like 15 hours per month. And that would be less than we're currently getting, but more flexible than we're currently getting. And I think that would really help with the liability that the county experiences with sick and vacation time. And we could build it to where it works with this 4-day structure.
Did you get any suggestions from the county bill that are doing it?
For PTO, not at this point, no.
They've got some process.
Yeah.
Don't reinvent it.
Oh, yeah, no, I would absolutely. And we're in discussion on that now. So as far as a proposed timeline, July 6th, BOCC approves 4-day work week proposal. July 6th through the 29th, we would campaign to notify the public of the changing hours. That would be posted on the doors. We'd add a phone message to the menu when people call in, banner on website, notice in paper, and a release on social media. And then August 1st, looking at implementing that first day. That's the beginning of the month. That starts on a Monday. And we would look at August 31st, just to review and address any concerns that we've got going from that. Of course, we would continue to take a look at that and address anything that comes up. But that would be what the proposed timeline would look like. Again,
Making payroll and paying our bills on the last Friday of the month.
so we'd handle it just like if it happened on a Saturday. It would be the last business day of the month. So if the 31st fell on Saturday currently, we'd handle it on Friday the 30th. 31st fell on a Friday, we would handle it on the 30th on that Thursday. So that would be same would be true for the
Still gotta be
BOCC
flexible.
meeting and everything. Yeah. So again, just why the change? Our employees are our most important assets, and making sure that the public gets the best service and resources that they can. This is going to save costs for employees for sure. I think we have a lot of opportunity to save costs for the county, and just looking at how we can save energy, things like that. And I do think we will be more accessible by making those hours a little bit later for people to come in.
Quick question then.
Yes, sir.
Why now? How come we didn't think of this sooner? It's so great. And whose idea was it?
So this has been talked about for a little while. I know, just talking around for several months. Really, I think probably given that I am presenting it, just the reason that it's taken so long. Yeah, the reason it's taken so long with me presenting it is just everything else that's been going on. This being kind of
Oh,
a
what I
first
mean by that,
opportunity.
the school's been on a 4-day week forever.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough. And people have had problems getting their kids back and forth, which is still gonna be.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. Also, we don't want to fool ourselves. You're calling it 9-hour productive work day,
Mhm.
but in reality, 7:30 isn't jiving with the school, and so there's going to be some confusion. The rest of the world in that morning, in order to be fully productive during that time, depends on whether you got stuff you didn't do the day before, which means you were slowing down.
Mhm.
Something's not right. And so you got a core period of time, and then at the evening, from the 4:30 on to 5:30,
Mhm.
the rest of the world shut down also. So it's going to have to be a different work ethic here for people to be productive.
Right.
And in reality, and from my experience, I've seen it, you do get people at the coffee pot and wasting a little time talking more than they did before, because they're waiting for the phone to get busy, or the day to start at 8 o'clock, for
Mhm.
example. Maybe, I don't know, but you see that happening. I think it's a good idea from a point of view of trying to coordinate with everything else. I think, and it does give you another day.
Mhm.
But it's not really another day, because you're trying to squeeze that day into 4 days.
Yep.
And so they're used to, people get into a routine, and you do lose some of that drive to make it really productive. You know, am I ready to start pounding on the computer? Am I answering the telephone like I did? People aren't calling.
Yeah.
So it's something that we'll have to look, it could be a break-in period that may or may not work, and that would blend to the public perception of the county's got a cushy job to begin with. You guys are taking more time and 1 hour lunches, whatever.
Right.
We always work through those things.
Yeah.
So the
Absolutely.
threat is real, I
Mhm.
think.
And, you know, as far as like what that productivity looks like, I know it's hard for me to speak for one of the public facing. And I think that's kind of the distinction is those of our departments that work a little bit more behind the scenes and those departments that are more public. You know, for us, there's always something to do. And so that 30 minutes ahead and those 30 minutes behind wouldn't necessarily translate from having missed something, you know, at the end of, or you would not necessarily have gotten something done at the end of the day and had free time in the morning. To where the public, I can't speak for that one. I don't know if another office department would want to speak in for what that could look like.
Kelly's got a lot of experience doing that, because you're the lone wolf here on Fridays most of the time. Meaning that,
If we were closed on,
yeah,
Fridays.
you would be able to see a difference probably.
in the public,
Maybe.
yeah, I mean, we have some online stuff that people can do and that they take more advantage of now.
That could be.
As far as the productivity of my employees, from about April through October, because of our summer increase,
Mhm.
that extra half hour in the morning and half hour in the evening would be really nice, because
You're
we'd
doing it
be
now.
able to get something done,
Yeah.
maybe.
I think you got something, Lisa.
I did. Since I have been working here, I can maybe count less than 3 times that I've actually been here after 7:45. Just because that time before work is absolutely
Getting ready.
priceless.
Mhm.
There are some days in our office, and I'm sure you're well aware, it can be absolutely overwhelming. That's a good word. Yes, overwhelming, because you have so many things that have to be dealt with now. So when you have that, for me, like I normally get in around 7 o'clock every morning. That hour is, I get to file my things away. I can boot up my computer, get to my emails, take that quiet. I just, uninterrupted work time. And now, I'm one of those people who it takes me about 30 minutes to get to work every day. I don't take a lunch per se. That time though, truly, I mean, from 7 until 4 is just as productive as it would have been 8 to 4, just because I'm using my time differently. So I think that 7:30 to 5:30, that hour, that half an hour before and after would be priceless. And you'd be getting paid for it.
And I think we kind of addressed that a little bit with the planning and zoning office by allowing her to shut the doors.
I had people
early.
showing up at 6 o'clock last night to pull permits because my truck was still in the parking lot. So they're there. Yeah, I had somebody show up at 6:15 one morning because the light was on. And they saw, so I mean, as far as planning and zoning, getting there and getting right to work, the minute you pull in, you're working in our office.
Sure.
A couple of observations. Obviously, I may not be obvious, I spent my working career at Custer County on a 4-day week. Definitely had its, from the employee standpoint, had its benefits. From the professional side, of course, had some detrimental aspects to it as well. One of the things coming from the school that everybody talked about, but it didn't hold water in my book, and that was the energy savings, and I think it applies here.
I do too.
If you want to provide lip service, I guess that's fine to talk about energy savings, unless we go to computerized and an environmental system here. The only savings, in my opinion, would be some of the lights would be turned off. I don't believe that raising and lowering the temperature in a building this size is going to be very efficient. I think it's probably more efficient than to just leave it. So I always raise my eyebrows when I hear, oh, we're going to save energy. Certainly wasn't true in the school system in the 23 years I was there. I do agree that your opening statement and your closing statement about our employees certainly carries a lot of weight. No argument there. I would challenge your timeline a little bit as a commissioner. And that would be because if you really expect us to vote on this today, then in essence, you're saying we don't care what the community thinks. It's only about our employees. I'm not sure that's wise. Certainly probably not very politically sound. The argument against that would be, okay, Flower, we hear what you're saying. How in the hell are you going to find out what the community wants? Well, there's only one way to do that, right? And that's close these doors on Friday and deal with fallout. We can't do a survey effectively. So I just want that to be recognized that you're asking us to make a decision without any community input. It doesn't denigrate the reason that you brought to us, but we got to be cognizant of that as well. In my opinion, it would be very unusual for this Board of County Commissioners to make a decision on something like this when it was initially brought to us.
And I believe I'm 100% behind that. I think when they did the school, they actually had some period of time they proposed it for quite a while. Give a lot of people time to think about it, see what will we do to change our getting up at 7 o'clock, throwing a kid out, milking a cow, or doing whatever they were doing those days. It took a time. And so this is we work for the public. We're not an island up to ourselves. We have the privilege of managing the people, employees, and you have the privilege of working for the public. And they are our boss. So it matters. It really does. And that doesn't mean we don't stand tall.
Yeah.
And get the input, but we have to understand what our issues are and vote accordingly. Not because there are 10 people saying you don't like it and 20 people said yes, and we get the input because there's always another angle that you don't consider that is valuable in getting somebody else's comment that you might be able to tweak it a little bit and make it even better. That's all.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Cannon and I were involved at the first meeting we ever sat in. One of our early motions was to do away with the 8 to 5 hours of this courthouse. Very controversial. People were upset. Employees were upset that they had to work an extra hour. It's not exactly the same because we're talking about condensing those hours in 4 days and not 5, but a lot of pushback on prior administration having the courthouse open till 5. We heard arguments just the opposite of this when we dealt with that issue as well. So I can tell you, I've spent time in a lot harsher conditions than in a building working a 10-hour day, and it is freaking brutal. From 4 to 5:30 for these county employees, they're gonna have to do a lot of soul searching because it's rough to put in a 10-hour day. Now I get it, we're paying them for an hour for lunch, so it's really a 9-hour day. For those folks that don't happen to leave and go somewhere for lunch, 10 hours is a long day. I know that personally.
Tough on the kids when that was.
So I think you've got a good presentation here. Clearly, in my mind, this why change is for the employees. It is not for the county. That's the way I look at it. And I'm not against that necessarily, but I'm trying to boil this down into black and white.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that.
I agree partly with what you just said. It is for the employees, but if they are happier and do a better job, that is for the county's value. I agree with that. And I don't know, there's probably other people that want to talk, but I made my suggestion.
Yeah, no, you have a good point.
And I would speak to the 10-hour days. I've done 10s, I've done 12s. And once you are used to that, it's a lot easier to do. If you're going from an 8 to a 10, there is a transition period. But I know I've worked some really strange shifts in the mines, and to that end, the ones that are hard to get used to is when you're rotating 3 shifts. If you're working a straight shift, you tend to, after a short time, settle in and you have a routine again.
I've done 12, 6 to. So that's tough.
Yeah, I ran a 12-hour shift 7 days a week for almost a year. And I'm telling you, talk about morale, it'll destroy it because you're nothing but a piece of equipment. You're just a tool. Those are absolutely brutal, which we're not talking about here. But there is some value in the whole working 4 days a week and having 3 days off when you live in the kind of country we live in, no doubt.
And I think in just talking about the public, it's certainly, we don't want to discount the public view of this at all. I would agree that this is mainly for the employees. And I think that, we tried to give as wide a perspective of that as possible through that analysis. I think there's some convenience in coming anytime during the week. But I guess I don't think there's a huge detriment to having that Friday gone, for the public. We did talk about a little bit who would be truly affected by that Friday. Kelly mentioned people that zoom on over from Pueblo to come up to their cabin for the weekend and need to do some business real quick. Beyond that, we had a little bit of a hard time thinking of people that truly, like, we would put them out by taking away that Friday. So I do think I would agree with the statement that this is mainly for the employees and through the employees for the public. A big piece of that just being the costs right now. Fuel's mentioned, but just inflation in general, having that money to be able to spend on other expenses that are going up. And also just a budget for the county that is in flux, I would say, or at least has some questions around it. What's next year going to look like? What kind of cost of living increase or anything like that really can we do come budget time? This is something that we don't have to spend another dime for, that would essentially put money back into employee pockets. So I think there's really some good that can be done here that's at a minimal cost to the county.
Good point. There's the other elephant in the room. Thank God it's not super prevalent here because state statutes exempted small counties from entering into collective bargaining with their employees. You don't have that. I think it's good that we don't, but there has to be some trade-offs for that as well. You have to be able to recognize and be willing to consider requests from county employees that aren't done at a table with 5 or 6 attorneys sitting around it. So I think that has some value as well. I want to ask these gentlemen a question. With respect to what I said about making a decision without the community's input, would you truly think we can get a handle on the community's input about this? I don't know how we do go about doing that. I guess I'm asking you that. How would you think we go about finding out, just talking to people?
That would be the question. The only thing that I would know is giving the way that information is disseminated around here is you'd have to throw it out there on Facebook and on our webpage and ask for comments to come back to this office. What would your participation rate be? It would probably be more after the fact than prior to, but that's a guess.
Here's what I think. I agree. I think the way to handle that would be to say, we're going to propose doing this. It's something we're thinking of. It was introduced. And we'll put it on an agenda item to make for consideration to actually implement on a certain date, month from now, whatever. If people care enough, because what I don't want to do, I don't want to discount the fact 40 hours is what we grew up with, period, and for a week. People signed up to it, knew what they had to do, and that was the job, and that's what you're expected to do. Now, if we'd have signed up for a 9-hour day in the first place, that's what they expected. So now we're going to transition, but the work's the same. What about the day? I don't, the rest of the government entities we deal with. I don't care about Joe Blow coming in on a Friday necessarily all the time. It's the one in the time, other times that the state agencies aren't on a 4 to 8 week period. And neither are the U.S. agencies, neither is the military. I mean, a lot of things are still going to be where we have to interact with people. And so we don't want to discount that. It's something we sign up as government employees to understand that's our job. So it's worth saying we are really considering this for good reasons. One is the morale of our employees is important. And if we can get better productivity that's provable, that's good. And we're not interfering with something that could happen. And we have to have ways of dealing with that. I know other counties have, and there's an opportunity there. If people really care, and I see that happening, if somebody sees it in the newspaper, it's like all of a sudden it's time to vote, and we're considering something and we didn't know was happening until they see it in the paper. So I can just say, or the county's considering doing it. Put it on the paper. Let's see what kind of an input we get. And we can take, there may be some good ideas. If people came in here on a discussion, now we're going to vote. We're going to make a motion to approve it. Somebody's going to second it, and there's going to be public comment. And let's see what they say, if they really care, and see if there is a nugget there that we can add to that and modify the concept that time, or defer it until we can iron out maybe that thing that allows us to be more productive or not.
I certainly agree with what you're saying, Commissioner Canada. I keep trying to get on the outside and looking in on this deal. I think Braden, I said it, I think Braden agreed with it. If we're doing this for quote unquote for the county employees, then what difference does it make what the community thinks? See, there's that other side. If you're honest and open on your intent,
right,
then you have to own up to that and say, you know what, if we're doing it for the employees, the only opinion we care about is the employees.
Unless they see some good reason to come in here and let us know when we're there, because we do work for them. But good point. But
Yeah.
if we blast it in here, we are a representative republic. I mean, we represent the people. And so we have to listen to them. Doesn't mean they're always right. So.
Worthy.
I just want to make
You
a
understand.
comment. In my opinion, if we were to go to a 4-day work week, that would definitely help our recruiting. I can tell you as a new employee, not having time off for a whole year, and everybody says, well, just use your sick pay. I'm not that kind of person to do that. I'm not going to call in and say I'm sick and I'm not. And that's what we're promoting. And I just think if I had, or a new employee had that Friday to make doctor's appointments, do family gatherings, that would definitely be a recruiting tool, and we could use that.
Good point.
I'll second that as a good employee as well. I have to do so.
I was waiting for you to say.
He's been
something.
intently
I didn't even
listening,
know he
but
was
Yeah.
sitting there.
he's been reacting out there. I've been watching these
Kelly.
other comments. we
And
have.
I just want to comment, Bill, on the other state agencies and being closed on a Friday. So the state has 2 new holidays
Yeah,
that we don't recognize.
Yeah.
And Department of Revenue, Secretary of State, all those state agencies that we work with are closed on those days. when
yeah,
we're
we can't do
open,
anything.
And they don't care
Yeah.
that we're open.
That's right.
We can't call them and get help
Right.
from them.
Good point. Yeah, I think of that when that happened.
And just to speak to the public comment, again, I don't think we should discount the public comment because it's for the employees, you know, I get that we need to weigh that, but I do think we need to weigh it. And that's what I'm afraid of in a come share sort of setting. You tend to get the people that are totally against it or totally for it. With this being really employee driven, I don't see there being somebody like, yes, absolutely, go to 4-day week. But on the other hand, I do think there's a way to get that input. And possibly that is for the people that are currently coming in on a Friday. If every department can just real quick ask maybe 2 or 3 questions, like, you know, is this the only day that you can come in? You know, can we ask some questions that actually give us some usable data as opposed to somebody that just wants to come complain about it? I think there could be a possibility, you know, over the next month, even, and I realize this timeline's aggressive. But even over this next month, if we wanted to stick to this timeline, a July 31 deciding, you know what, here's the report that we've gotten back over the month. The people that we've asked on Fridays, 10% of them can't come on another day. 90% chose this day because they have it off already, or, you know, something along those lines. Maybe there's some data we can get that actually helps us understand what the public's doing, as opposed to just giving a chance to air grievances. And I say that as lightly as possible, but I do think that tends to be what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we see it every time we sit in this meeting.
Yeah.
People that show up are the ones that are going to complain about it. They're not typically showing up.
Well, it depends on the top subject. I agree. I think that's a good idea if you did it in combination. You're going to take surveys as we do it. You put it in the paper, we're considering doing it and voting to do it on such and such a day. Let people know there's a deadline and let's see what comments we get. It's our job to listen. And whether it's the same people or not, we can take that into account. Or there's a lot of cases that if you'll think about it, sometimes you see the same faces because everybody else works a different hour. So they put their input into a guy that's retired, come in here and make sure you voice the opinion. And you have to understand that. So I think that's a good idea. I like the idea. And I think that would really give them the satisfaction knowing that we're listening. We're not just going to discount it because we think we know better than anybody else in the world. Because I've got experience that's different than Tom's, and he's got a little bit different than us. It helps.
You know, I was gonna say I would consider, this should have been discussion today. in my
Right,
opinion,
that's probably what it
but
should have
put
been.
on the agenda. So I would be in support of considering this at the mid-month meeting. Unfortunately, based on what we've been talking about, we meet in Wetmore. So that's not fair to make, to sit here and say, we want the community's input and then go down to Wetmore and make the decision. I wouldn't be opposed to having another special meeting to deal with it. If you think the timeline will get askewed if we postpone this till the end of the month. If that's too long, then, you know, we have other things we could do. But
I agree. The timeline, what's the rush? Except school's going to start. Right? And that's going to be the big help. Yeah, to do it right and do this deliberately is important. It's a big deal.
I just want to say, one of the reasons we were trying to get pushed sooner is because the cost of fuel. That's to me is a big issue for people that
Right.
travel. Because we're pushing that in a month, that's more expense to some
Sure.
of these employees that travel like that.
Right.
And that was the reason we were trying to do it a little bit sooner.
Good point, Laura.
We have a question over here then.
The big problem I see is your personnel procedures and your benefit program is based on a 5-day work week. You're given, the way it sits right now, you'd be giving everybody Monday a 25% raise for that day. I'm sorry, gas is costing more. It's costing more for all of us. This is a government. We need to be open 5 days a week, period.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's to our point, we have to be able to listen and at least give people the opportunity to say that, whether I would disagree with a little what you said, David, because our benefit package and salary is based on 40 hours. It's based on 2080, right? 2080 hours a year. We happen to break it out into 5 days. If we changed and went to 4 days, that stuff will still be based on a 40-hour week. So nothing would really change there.
So an 8-hour holiday becomes a 10-hour holiday.
No, because it's 40 hours.
A 40-hour week, right now, a holiday is 8 hours. Your policies need to
That's true.
adjust if you're gonna go to a 4-day work week.
That's true.
I'm
Wouldn't
telling
argue
you,
with
the
that.
government should be open Monday through Friday. We know the national holidays, you're closed, fine. If there's 2 that you're not getting, shame on the county for not taking them. I agree, there's too many of the damn things. But if the government's closed, the government's closed. We should be closed.
Yeah, and that's where we're at as commissioners. You have to listen to people's opinions. And it's our job to try to put the information out there so that we can hear educated opinions, so people know
That's
exactly
the
what
point.
it is we're trying to
Yeah.
do. So,
And you're right, it should have been the discussion today. That's why I asked when you proposed this, you're gonna want us to vote on it today. That was.
Well, and yeah,
Bridge too
and
far.
there's been times where we put something on for consideration, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean we're voting on
No,
it.
that's
It could end in a workshop.
Well,
or
that's what this
something, so-
means.
but your timeline inferred that
Sure.
the expectation was to vote for today, which I don't think I can support that.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I'm sure not opposed to having this on the agenda again or having a special meeting to deal with it either. I'm open for either one.
I think that'll be on the agenda at the end of the month. Give it time, put it in the paper, do the legwork, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
And get people engaged.
I would say the employees that are here and the employees in our county building, I would hope that you don't walk out and go, well, there'll be 25 people coming here and bitch and complain, and that's what the commissioner's going to listen to. I think we have to give the opportunity for that to happen. And then you have to trust that we will make the decision based on what we believe is best for the county. Mob rule can't dictate this any more than it should anything else, but I think they do have to have the opportunity to voice their opinion.
And I think, yeah, just making sure we get that, because Dave had a great point as far as holidays. That's true. There would be 2 hours that we would be getting. So if we observe 11 holidays, we get 22 hours paid more than we would have normally. But the way the policy is written, that accounts for that. So yes, that would be the effect of it. There wouldn't be necessarily need to be a change to the policies, because sick and vacation is based on hourly.
Right.
So
That's-
there's things like that.
So that's a good point. And I want to reassure everybody that's listening that we are the law-making body here for this county. And so if we say we're going to do it, and we said we're going to vote on it on that day, and you guys are ready, we can transition, we can make it happen on that day if we want to. And we go immediately into it. And then you follow up, you already have been, just like at the same timeline, go ahead and get the policy ready, get stuff ready. So when you present us something, it's complete, because you're asking us to go ahead and implement it now, and then we'll catch up. We'll trust me, we got things we're gonna do. Give us the package,
Mhm.
and we can make it happen. It can happen immediately. if we decide to do it.
So as a suggestion of that, if it were to happen the day of, because I do see that, I do think the notification piece is important. So in something like that, could then we go to that, essentially we follow this
Same
timeline
timeline.
beyond, besides the approves piece. Today we discussed it.
Right.
We start the campaign saying that this is a possibility of moving to
Right.
this. And then on July 29th, we would have another meeting here
Right.
in which we would actually vote on that and listen to public
Right,
comment,
and
as
if
well
there-
as any other data that was gathered. in the
Because
meantime.
you can bet your bottom dollar there are people, if they care, are gonna be paying attention to what we're gonna propose to do.
Mhm.
And I know I get email all the time, and and not always the same people.
Mhm.
And if they really care, and they care about kids and people.
Yeah.
Without them, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
So I would expect a lot of email, and hearing that, I would expect somebody coming into the room and, well, I got 10 of my neighbors are all for this, or here's 3 that aren't, whatever will happen. And then we'll weigh it and we'll make a decision, and we can implement it that day.
So a couple other questions, I guess I want to bring up. You're also by de facto asking us to make decisions that are going to affect other elected officials. So I think we probably need to reach out to those elected officials in this building specifically and have a conversation with them as well.
It affects the other ones too, I think, Tom. The sheriff's office, they got to deal with things in the court, et cetera, courts, et cetera. So it does affect everybody.
And then my other point was, what about public health? What about OEM? What about non-county building employees?
Road and bridge guys.
Well, road and bridge.
I know they're empty on their own.
They're already there.
I know they're already there.
So we haven't had that conversation yet, and so if we consider this, do we consider it for all county departments? Or are we singling out the employees of this county building? We single out the employees of this county building, or there'd have to be a different set of arguments,
Yeah, that's
right?
where-
Because everybody's paying to come to work.
Yeah.
Everybody might be more productive.
And maybe they won't want to do. OEM he claims he's on a helicopter every day, right?
So I think
Working.
that
That may
conversation
not be true.
from your office probably needs to occur as well.
Yeah, and so I can speak to that a little bit. One would encourage reaching out to the elected officials, all of them. I have spoken with all of them and have, at least from my side, received support. So, or it doesn't involve us. In the case of the sheriff, that was the stance that was taken there. But they can see the benefit of that. So would definitely encourage that. As far as OEM, I have not, I know, as has been discussed, that he's kind of 24/7 on call anyway, and I would say that's a different animal altogether. Public health being the other one. Dr. Brown did say that he did not see being able to go to 4-day week for their building just because of the number of people that come in. In fact, he even mentioned that having some availability on Saturday would be helpful to the public. So I did kind of leave them out of the equation because of it. I've mentioned Jared a couple of times here and there, but because he's close and like we've said, he's kind of similar to that schedule already based on his workload and how he's productive. So landfill would be the other one. And Brian suggested that the way that the landfill is set up is really the best way it can be ran right now. So
What about other districts interaction,
other,
like the fire district or the library district, or
is
is there any reason that the courthouse not being available or other agencies not being available impacts them? I don't know, probably not.
Yeah, I think in those emergency situations, one thing that we did discuss was IT, for example. What if the sheriff has a problem on Friday?
Right.
That they would formalize going to being on call. And
Which is-
right now
Really
they
have
are.
to-
Right now, they kind of are. And so if on a Saturday or Sunday, the sheriff's office has an issue, Vernon comes in and helps out with that. This would truly be formalizing. Right.
Jordan, he needs, that's not
Sorry.
true necessarily, because it's hard to get a hold of Vernon. We'd have to set up because of where he's located. You
Yeah.
can't call him and he comes running in. He's gotta get his message, and maybe Jordan can help.
I'm the one that comes in.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't see the chopped liver.
And I'm going to speak for Oyen, I think, since I am here.
Are you?
First of all, I want to say I support this. I've worked for the government for 39 plus years, and we've had 10-hour work weeks for a long time. There are some distinct advantages, but there's also other alternative work weeks like 549 that would provide total coverage during the period.
Yeah.
So there's other work weeks that you can look at, but I fully support. I think we need to do more to improve the morale of our employees within the county. I think this would do that. I think if you were to poll government agencies throughout the country, and I look at a lot of polls, you would find that probably 90% of the government agencies are on a flex work week of some sort. They call it flex time. As far as emergency services, for 7 days a week anyway, we're still going to provide the coverage. The public does not have the alarm that they're not going to get a response, or we're not going to respond to an emergency, because that's not the case. We do it 24/7. And even though it's not in our policy, I kind of flex my work week anyway, because we have to, because of the nature of what we do. But I think this would be a good, not a morale booster for morale. I think it's been proven that productivity does not change significantly when you go on a 10-day work week. It does not change. People learn to adapt. As Bill, you said, they will adapt to the work week that they're working. And corporate America is on flex time for the most part.
Yeah, they are.
And it works quite well for them. So I think it's, if you look at the larger counties, Denver, Douglas, they are already on some sort of a flex time work week for their employee, and it seems to work.
Then how many days a week is the government facilities open?
It depends on some agencies. Like I said, some agencies flex within the system to provide 5-day coverage. There are many that are only on, a 4-day coverage, so it depends. And then you have to look at the county. We don't have the traffic that larger counties have during the week, so you have to kind of look at those things. If you're looking for a way to poll, you could do a doodle poll. It's a very simple poll that you can go out and put a list of questions out there for the public to address. And they'll gauge your statistics for you and give you some information. So a doodle poll is something that you could put together in the time frame that you have, and get your public input that way, so you don't have the nays packing a room or the yays packing a room. You have more of an opportunity for people to respond. We use those in our hazard mitigation planning process, and our responses have been fairly good, and then people don't feel pressured. And in a public meeting, some people aren't comfortable coming in stating what they want, so this gives them a neutral way of responding to a question.
And if you don't know how the flex, this 9-5-4 thing, it's overlap, so that there's 1 week you're working 9, 1 week you're working less 8.
Yeah.
So that you do have coverage on all 5 days, but not the same person as that.
And that was discussed
Was it?
as well. And really, it came down to those that are Department of 1 or even
Yeah,
a
they can't
Department
do
of
it.
2
You
that
can't do it.
have trouble doing that, as well as those that a supervisor. It's helpful to have a supervisor there the whole time.
Sure.
So,
All right, it's good discussion.
I would ask the employees to be patient here a little bit. I think moving it to the end of the month agenda makes sense. And let the process function out a little bit.
That's what I'm hearing, sitting here at the table. That we will put it on the agenda for the 29th. Trying to get some of this information garnered. I like your idea of pulling people that are in, whether it's just the ones that, I would say those that come in at any time could respond to that, not just the ones that come in on Friday.
Sure. Yeah. it's important.
And give the rest of the public an opportunity, because this was a quick turnaround.
Mhm.
We were presented with it yesterday and now we're here today. So I think if we were to defer this to the 29th, that would give everybody an opportunity to weigh in and might be able to address a couple of questions that came up today on that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Awesome. No, I think that sounds great.
And still meet the same time.
Yeah, and that would be my only point of clarification is, in this case, that campaign, quote unquote, would be, we're considering moving to a 4-day work week starting on August 1st. And that being the message that goes out along with the poll or questions.
And you're gonna come back with, here's what we've got ready to do it.
To be
Here's why it's not a
discussed.
risk implementing it on the 1st.
Yep.
We're gonna do it. My finance system's ready to support it. We've got the leave figured out, whatever the issues are.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I sure appreciate that. What's that?
Don't leave, you're on the next.
Yeah, I know.
Are you gonna serve on the recycling?
Okay, our next item on the agenda is a consideration of fuel purchase for the Silver West Airport. And you were asked to try to find some answers.
And you got your airport boys here to help you.
Yeah, I think this,
Where's Bob?
We're still meeting here.
so I think this is going to be best served as kind of some discussion time too, given some of the holes that I have as far as information and we can see where we get as far as that goes. So as we had mentioned before, the airport fund is currently upside down, that we do need to get money into it just to make it whole today. And that's still something we're not quite sure how to do. And let me speak to the audit for a second as to why I'm saying it this way. There's been a lot discussed and being found, I guess, question marks being found in the audit process about our conversion and where we truly are standing as a county money wise. So to me, from what it looks like, there's a possible delta of about $54,000 that the auditors say I believe that we're supposed to have, that we're not finding, that from the beginning has not been in there. And so we're trying to work with CIC to figure out where that money's at, as well as where the fund
Countywide
balance
or
is.
airport?
Countywide, yeah. That's the general fund specifically. And so just countywide, where do we stand with all of our funds? I think our smaller funds such as airport, lodging, tourism, those kind of funds are pretty cut and dry. We have a good idea of where they're at. The general fund, which is what we'd be talking about, most likely taking money from to fund something like this, is why I bring that all up. Candidly, I'm not confident in making big decisions regarding using general fund money right now because of the blurriness of it all. I would hope that here in the next month, as this audit process gets figured out and we know truly where we're at, that we can be a lot more confident about this is where we're at. If we go ahead and make this purchase, this is what it's going to do to us, having both sides of that equation. Right now, we know that X amount of money would go out. We don't necessarily know what that would do across the board. And so that's the situation, that's the trouble that I'm in right now, is trying to figure out how do we do that, given that the data isn't reliable at this point. So again,
Bob, come on in.
auditors will be coming in Tuesday, and I'll be working with them all day Monday to continue to try to figure this out. But that's the nature of where we're at as far as expenses go, and having some more expense here.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Um,
Here's how I'm asking. We have an urgent request. We have to find some money in order to keep the airport operating, and we don't want to be wasteful about it. We know that the revenue, it generates revenue. This is not buying the fuel and not getting it paid for. It's just a matter of timing and that's part of the problem. It shows in the red because we're getting it paid, but it's after the fact, so it shows up on our books negative, which caused that shortfall of the little fund we're talking about now. So we want to bite this big problem off a chunk at a time. You still got to figure out where the money is in the general fund.
Yeah.
And why that didn't occur when it happened. I can understand it because of the way the old system was compared to this one. So the delta right now we're talking about, I think it's around $34,000. We're looking at a $50,000 purchase, whatever it is. And what the revenue is from the last tank load is 14,000, whatever it was. And so whatever that difference is will allow us to buy the load. The other option, you heard our discussion earlier, is if we buy a half a load, which we can do, it's going to cost us $8 a gallon as opposed to the $6.50 or 28 that we got. If we did that, we're stuck with 4,000 gallons, $8 fuel. It's going to be hard to sell it in this world right now or ever. So that's why that option was kind of let go. So what we can do is figure out how we can fund this and not something else in the general fund for now until the revenue is replaced. I mean, catch it up. Or we find it and we move revenue off of other funds that are whatever. That's what we're counting on finding. So we've got to feel confident enough that it's a $34,000 risk. How do we stand on people spending to date is important. If there's some people that have not spent down 5,000 here, 20,000 there, mid-year where they should be, maybe that's where you would get some of that back too. And I know you haven't had a chance to look at everybody's status now. So we're going to need some information here soon in order to not lose the traffic for the summer up here in the airport.
What is the deadline on when do we need to know about this?
Well, we've got the fuel pump shut down as we speak.
Okay,
There's no fuel basically.
The sooner the better.
so there's, as far as like, we can put in an order at any time to get fuel here.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
That's obviously up to the shipping companies, et cetera.
So that's
it may
good.
take Another week even after the order.
Okay.
So that's a good point. It's not like they can't get it because now it's going to be December if we don't latch onto it now.
Right.
But it is important because it has to be ordered and we'll fill up the small tank and then the reserve rest will go into the big tank.
And the price really isn't going down so long.
The higher it'll be. That's the only thing.
Not given the recent sales where it went out very quickly. How long did it take you to sell 8,000 gallons?
It's hard to say.
A year?
You know, what is the average, 400 to 600 gallons a month? That's typical.
So that'd be 2 years worth of fuel.
Year
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Depending on, like you said, the runs now because people are wanting to fly before the price goes beyond $7, basically what's happening. So it probably will sell us a little bit sooner, but you can't predict it.
Tom?
Yeah, I don't disagree with what Commissioner Candace said. forget about the price. Could we get a partial load? Not a split load, but a partial load.
Partial, right now, I guess, we didn't get an answer back. They're not
They're
even
not even
responding to
doing
it.
So we don't know if we can buy 2,500 gallons regardless of the price.
Yeah.
The airport can continue to function without fuel sales. True or false?
Sure.
People will come in here.
People can fly in.
Sure. You're not gonna close the landing strip.
No.
You're not gonna lock the hangars up. The airport could function.
That's affirmative.
Okay. I don't support that, but we gotta have the facts. We gotta
Right.
know, make decisions based on the facts. Is it gonna be a detriment to the airport? I believe it would be. Are we gonna see a negative impact moving forward? Probably will, because people say, well, hell,
No fuel.
let's not sell any gas. We'll go somewhere else. They won't even look. So I understand that. And that impact could last into next year even. You know, people get in the habit. I think your point about a year and a half to sell 8,000 gallons based on the averages over the last 5 years, I think that's reasonable too, to say, okay, we load up on fuel, we're gonna have it for a while. We're not gonna get the return on that 8,000 gallons immediately. It could be a year and a half down the road before we see the revenue stream completed from that purchase. That's my thought process. Correct me if I'm going off the rails here, but
Well, actually, it's not that long. It'd be about 14.
14 months, okay. And back to the financial piece, you guys are already 28,000 in the red today. You're upside down. And we're talking about adding another $50,000 to that. To Commissioner Canada's point, that money will come back. The revenue stream, we will recognize that, right, at some point. But the fact is, today, on the books today, you guys are in the hole.
It's showing that because it hasn't been
Right.
booked yet.
Right, well, I'm saying we haven't gotten the money back yet. OEM.
Well,
went through the
we've got
same
it. They
thing.
just haven't logged it yet. The stuff they sold in the last 5 days is not on the books.
Is that
Right,
true? Is
but-
that true? I just want to ask that question. Has that money made it in this last
Well,
sale?
listen, once the credit cards get hit, I don't know where it goes. I'm hoping you do.
Yeah,
Okay, so someone's got the money.
yeah. So I
It's there.
think
It's
it
just a
is
matter whether
here.
It's logged on
Yeah.
that $28,000.
I guess and that's my concern in all of this is that point right there. I don't know what happens to it either. That's the treasurer
We
side.
don't have it.
Yeah, no, it
Um,
should be received.
That's something that
Right.
Virginia can tell.
But, to really, in the spirit of putting it all out on the table, do we have a spreadsheet that says this is how much fuel was sold this month and how much it was sold at? And when do prices change and how's that determined? Like, as far as how much we're charging?
Yeah,
for
they
fuel?
bring that to us monthly. They give a fuel sales report every month, how many gallons we
Get
sold.
you, I could break up a report and any way you'd like it.
So it's really sitting there somewhere, Braden. It's just not been booked on the books. And that's why the auditors had an issue with it because it's timing on the machines compared to when they're actually logging, selling at the end of the month.
But
It
you've only
happens.
got 14,000 in fuel cells and they're
Right.
28,000 upside down. So that's
Well-
not an entirely true statement.
That's right, because it hasn't been booked, but the other, for the total month of June, Kevin, because what they just talked about were the 5 days in July that aren't part of that 28,000 yet.
And I'd have to look up today to see exactly where it's at.
But you-
But it does, it hits pretty instantaneously.
Right, it does. We'll have to see.
And that's what I want to make sure is, I don't know how much we're charging, but I know that we're the least in the county or in the state rather. And so I just want to make sure we've got enough delta on that we actually are making our money back.
Okay.
Because that's, I guess, my concern.
Let them explain it.
Yeah.
They have a 50-cent margin on every gallon they have sold, so it's always paid for.
Mhm.
Every gallon has profit.
And is that, I just trying to understand, is that determined by the board? Is that something the commissioners set? Is
Something
that-
we set, that we asked them, they always maintain that
They
50
make a
cent,
recommendation, we
50 cent,
actually approve
right?
that.
And they can charge more than that if they wanted to. But they, to be competitive, that's what the margin is right now. So every gallon, we've never sold anything at a loss, ever. There was another silver lining here too, we haven't discussed yet, and that's the ARPA money. If I know that Warfano County's not, Los Animas County's doing all government improvements, the courthouse and some other things with their ARPA money because it benefits all the county. This is a business deal here that I think some of the money that's come back to us or the money that we haven't spent yet can be considered. And would be a legal move from an ARPA point of view, I believe. We can look into that as a backup if we're really concerned that that money does exist and it's in the treasury already. So something for you to look at as you're looking at options from my point of view. And I like the fact you got to understand we got a week, 2 weeks, whatever it takes to do this right. Other consideration too, that congressionally directed money is going to impact us too. So we're going to have to move fuel and we're going to need to consider what that can be used for as well. Because we have to fill the tanks. Well, that's what we said we would do, it'd be part of that money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would think probably the board needs to brace themselves for continuing to
right.
have your fuel system shut down in the near future.
Yeah.
Till we get a handle on where we're at or find another pot of money.
Right.
I thought about the ARPA thing too. I don't know. I think my attitude on that ARPA thing is we can justify our spending however we want to, as long as it falls under that large
Right.
umbrella of what Treasury said. So,
The economy of the county.
but we don't have that money available because we've earmarked up 200,000 for workforce housing. Doesn't mean we couldn't unearmark it.
And that's a small piece of that we could do that with.
So I don't know, but my general sense is you're not going to get a vote today.
No.
I could be wrong.
No, we need to understand exactly what the amount is. And if we can use the ARPA money, I think that's probably the best answer first.
So there's the county accounting.
I
as of
think
the end of May. That's your line right there.
at some point, and I know when you're working in arrears, it's hard to get there. At some point, we need to be to where they have fuel on hand and then the money that's
Operating
sold,
money. Yeah.
they have
Right.
the opportunity then when they do have these fuel cells, that is going towards the next one rather than buying fuel, going in the red to buy fuel and then slowly digging yourself out of that hole. We need to be on top of the ground when that load of fuel is delivered.
Let me,
And with the larger tank, I think you could probably end up being there at some point.
let me clarify
Just a
something when you're done.
And, but this has been not just the fuel, but it's been a topic of conversation because your fund is the one that is basically all year been upside down. You've been in the red. And so that the fuel is part of that equation. I don't know that it's all of the equation.
Let me say,
Go ahead.
we've always paid for the fuel first. It's always been paid for. That's how it was set up originally when Donna was doing it. And in the process, she had that sitting in a general fund and it was always there. The transition has caused it where they didn't pick up whatever, however she was accounting for it. They have a book that JC has, the books on what they know is their budget, what the money is on the grants, and then money is on the fuel cells. And they have never showed anything in their books that shows that they were spending more money than they had available. And so the issue is how it happened. I don't know. And that's why he's in a quandary because of that. He's got to be careful where he pulls it from because somewhere It's in some other fund somewhere in the county on the new system. That's the big issue. That's why, and there, if we could get JC, probably it would be good to get with Braden, so he understands exactly what you guys see. The rent on the hangars is something that's added. And it's a profit-making organization out there. We have not allowed anything to go into the red from their point of view. How we book it and how it was processed here in these darn funds, the way they're set up in these stovepipes, how Donna had set it up, couldn't be transitioned. That's the understanding I got from when Sam was talking, and you had mentioned CIC and how they crossed it over. It was lost. I don't know why, but that's the 54K. It's bigger than just the airport. The 54K thing is part of it. There's other pieces that are missing. This is not the 54K only for the airport. You know, that what they're showing in red is a piece of it, from what I was told.
Kelly, you spoke earlier.
And I truly think that it's those transfers. I've not made
Yeah.
a transfer in over a year.
Yeah.
And that's why they always did a transfer. When Dallas was in charge of it, he would come in,
Mhm.
he'd say, we're getting ready to buy a load of fuel. It's gonna be this much. We'd do a transfer, and then Donna it would go from county general into the airport so that they wouldn't be upside down.
That's right.
And I think when Donna was doing whatever, she was pulling it. It actually came out of the pot that they put their fuel money.
That's
in,
right,
or
because
how-
that pump,
I
exactly what
think
you're saying,
that's-
that pump
yes.
put it into that money was put into the treasury direct.
Mhm.
And Virginia was just leaving it in the general fund. Donna had put a fence around it in her mind or on her piece of sticky note or in her file. And that didn't get into the transition because she wasn't here to help him understand what happened. So I think you need to start with JC and find out and see what the real budget is out there. And like you said, nothing's been transferred out of the general fund, and it's always showed negative because then they catch up, after the fact.
Well, and I agree that JC and I need to sit down and look at what their books look like. I have transferred from the general fund to airport.
You have,
So
yeah.
that has happened. And that was under the auspice of we had budgeted for it. And so
Yeah, I know.
there wasn't anything in my mind that we needed to approve, I guess, in that transfer with the way this new system works. But we do
And
need
it
to
was
discuss
for-
that.
For the fuel purchases.
Yeah.
No, it was just to make them whole at the end of last year.
No.
And
And see, I think that's where it's, because it was always for the fuel purchases, because
Right.
that was never figured in their budget.
Right.
Because Susie always used to comment on that. I don't know why this isn't ever put in their budget,
And that's what
so
we
that
talked
we
about.
don't
Yeah.
have to do those transfers.
I do know this, it's probably one of the quite a few investments a county can make that actually make some money. So in a financial sense, it just seems odd that you wouldn't try to make some more money on an investment. So where the money goes is
Right.
not mine.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I don't look at it as a revenue stream for the county. I look at it as a revenue stream for the airport.
Well, which also.
Because we're not gonna stick it in the general fund and pay salaries out of that. We wanna try to hold on to that fuel sales revenue so that you can reinvest it, just like you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
So,
And the airport is also brings in revenue on taxes and there's a lot going on. It's not just, we lost 20 grand. That's not the case.
Yeah, well, and I hope that's not how this is sounding, because that's not what I believe. This is a figuring out what's going on. And, this is, I guess it's a little surprising on my side, because I have been attending airport meetings, and this is the first I've heard we've got to get this figured out. So I just ask for some patience and trying to get that straightened out. But, at the end of the day, the county pays for the airport to be here. And it doesn't make enough money to cover itself. So I think we have to be careful about how we're saying that, because it does make money, but only enough to not cost the county more. And so that's what I want to make sure we're we're aware of, which is fine. Like, I think we're all in agreement that we should have, well, we have to have an airport, but how do we marginalize those costs that it takes? And we got an email this month that somebody had only gotten charged a couple bucks for a full tank. And it sounds like we got that straightened out, right?
Well, no.
Okay.
What happens is when people go in there and there's a selection they can make on the fuel.
Mhm.
Okay, and the selection is fill, gallon amount, or dollar amount.
Hmm.
Most people come in and hit the fill button or gallon button.
Sure.
When they do that, it automatically, they get charged for what they chose. But when it gets to their card company, say they say they want 100 gallons, they're going to be charged $700 for that 100 gallons.
Mhm.
But when it goes to the card company, say they only put in 50, they're only going to get charged $350, not the whole 700.
Sure.
But when they see the bill, it says 700.
Okay.
They don't get charged that.
Yeah.
But they
so
don't
that's good.
understand, don't hit the fill unless you're gonna fill it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what Bill said. On the books, you guys are in the red. That doesn't mean you're gonna cost the county $28,000 this year. We understand that. It just means that revenue has not been accounted for yet. And historically, this year, I mean, we budgeted you to be in the red in October. $3,750.
Now it's because of all the other things we're gonna pay for, oil.
OEM has been fighting the same battle. We budgeted all the expenses. Well, we didn't budget the projected revenue from his grant dollars. And it shows him being in the red. He's not this year, but the last 3 years he has. So I think we understand and realize you're not costing the county $28,000. You're on the books being in the red for $28,000.
And that's what I was saying. I wasn't trying to, I was not trying to say that. But when it comes to the audit, when it comes to everything on that, that is something that has to be accounted for. And on the case in point, a $50,000 load of fuel, the question there is, and I get your point, it does make money, we will make money on that fuel. But do we have the money in the first place to buy that load of fuel?
The proverbial, you gotta have money to make money.
Yeah, if we don't have the money, we can't spend the money. And that's my angst, and I think your angst is what I am hearing you say. You're not able at this time to find that kind of money to be able to spend it at this present time. Is that correct?
We're talking about something we need a scalpel to perform the surgery here, and we've got a machete and a jungle of trying to figure out what's going on. So that's really because I completely agree. I'm the kind of person that would want to buy a full load and lock in the next full load if we could, to be able to make that as much margin on it as we could. But just given the circumstance and where we're at, I don't have a good enough view to say, yeah, we've got $50,000 and we'll be fine. That's
Which
just
is what
where
That's what we're asking to
Yeah.
go find out.
So
Yeah.
you told us what we've asked you to do. So I think now we need to see if we can find the money to do that.
As quickly as we can.
Yeah.
And consider the ARPA stuff in addition, see what's available. How we can do it.
Question for you two gentlemen. Is there a possibility of buying a small load from, say, Pueblo that nobody will turn loose of any fuel that they have on hand.
That's not the problem. The problem is getting it delivered.
Yeah.
Nobody will pull their tank out of another tank and deliver it here because there's no
Liability.
quality.
Liability
insurance done
issues.
on it.
Okay. I'm just trying to find
Yeah.
solutions in the short term.
I mean, yeah, the only thing, again, the only other option is continue to research,
Trying to get us
partial
from
load,
somebody.
but we'll spend an extra $1 a gallon. So when you think about it, it's already 6 1/4, so that's now 7. And then we gotta put our markup on it.
Well, you know, that's a
That would
thought,
be-
though. Here's another angle on that same thought. So we do it and we go and we sell it at a short, we short sell it. And that, in other words, it's a loan. So now we're paying an extra $1. An extra $1 gallon is only $4,000 or $5,000. And once we figure out, that gives us time, we could figure out where the other money can come from and then pay that back off. But it would have cost us that amount of money to operate that way, to keep the price so that we're competitive. We cannot drive people away with a high price.
So, and then maybe sell it at cost, assuming we can
Right.
even get a partial load.
Just for a while and then not have to buy that big of a month. It's like taking a loan, basically. Not a loan really,
Right.
because we're gonna sell them.
We're still talking 15, 20 grand.
Right, we still have to move money.
But either way, if we were to buy fuel, we'd still spend that 15, 20. I mean,
Right.
is that even in the budget? I mean, if we found a partial load or as normal?
No, that's what I was saying. that
Right, yeah.
It's just less of a load and we could.
Well, sure.
So I might ask again, and to Dave's point, I forget his last name, that when he spoke earlier. It does bring a question up because you sold this load out at a 50% or a 50-cent increase to your purchase price,
Right.
beginning to end.
Right.
And is that something that we needed to look at probably when the prices were going up everywhere else, that we followed suit? Are we able to do that or not? I don't know. To where you didn't have that rush that came in here and cleaned you out in 5 days.
Well, there's a couple, we discussed it, probably 10 times. Let's raise the rate. And part of the issue was we didn't, we wanted to get this new tank. Crazy thing is, we've got a brand new fuel tank that's sitting empty. We wanted to get it commissioned. So in order to do that, it would be hard to transfer, 3,500 gallons, which we had last week, 2 weeks ago, to the new tank. So we're like, all right. And then we look at the forecast for the last few years. No one saw this coming. It's some strange times. So it's catch-22.
You didn't sell it at a loss until this
No,
last
no, there's
week.
no loss.
You know, not a loss, but he could, but the point is he's making is you could have jacked the price up to $7 or
We
whatever.
could.
And they would have bought it maybe.
To reflect the market
Right,
price.
but you only had 5 days to react, and part of that was.
Yeah, there was no forecast for us to do that.
Right.
So
So the big jump happened recently elsewhere.
in the last 6 days.
Okay.
It
I didn't know if it happened, halfway through June and we just continued to sell ours at that
No,
rate.
no, it
So-
was like overnight.
Okay.
It caught us on surprise.
Fair enough. And thank you for that, because I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, if we saw it coming, we would have reacted.
Okay.
And they have in the past.
So the big question here then that I'm seeing is, we would love to do it, but we don't know where the money's at yet.
Well,
And so we need to get that information before we can do it.
Right, so why don't Bob and I will do some more homework on a partial load. If we can find one at a normal price, we'll proceed. If not, we'll let you know. I guess go from there.
and get JC working with them and let's take a look at it.
Well, yeah, we got a board meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we can talk about this.
That's a priority too. Great.
And I'll see if JC can meet up earlier, because I'm planning on coming out. And JC and I've got an appointment afterwards, but we can start working through some stuff.
Yeah.
Or keep moving forward on it.
All right, sounds
But
good.
really, it's gonna come down to, on my side, the audit and how fast we can get through that. So hopefully, next week gets us pretty close, but.
So we can get Sam to take a look at the airport issue first.
Yes, yeah, I think we could prioritize that for sure.
So we don't have to wait for everything, you know how they are.
Yeah.
Because they'll be here until September.
Yeah, so long as we have a good handle on the airport, then yeah, I think we could
We
move
go
forward
there,
with
so we
that.
can move the money out of some pot and make them whole again and get the CIC synced up.
Yeah, so I'll plan on Monday when I'm working in Pueblo with them, that we'll try to hit airport first thing and have some answers, hopefully answers sooner rather than later. I don't know how intertwined it is, because as you guys are saying, I don't know if money is coming into the general fund. I don't think so. Based on my experience, it has been going into the airport fund, but that being a possibility might cause this to take a little longer.
Something happened, it got dropped.
Thank you, gentlemen. Sorry to take up your whole morning.
Oh, it's all good. We appreciate
Actually, I'm
your-
sorry we took
your
up
help.
Kelly's time.
Sure.
We'll get it figured out.
Oh, yeah.
Later.
Thank you, sir.
We will, 10 o'clock. Yep. Sounds good. See you tomorrow.
You are free, I believe.
Not really. You're busy.
Okay, any additional items of business, sir?
None from me. Yes, there is at 1:30.
Nothing from me either. So this is an opportunity for public comment. I am not seeing any hands raised.
All county employees.
Okay. So that being said, I will adjourn this meeting at 12:19 PM.